Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm very happy to have you here. Hopefully everybody's been doing well the past couple of weeks. I've been very, very busy doing other things, but nevertheless, I am back now. And it was crazy busy for me, and I still am crazy busy. But that's how it goes. Hopefully, you guys had yourself a good first part of August. Here in Japan, it's crazy time because it's Obon, and the Japanese really only celebrate two actual holidays a year. Um, really. There's a couple of little kind of things, but they do New Year's and they do Obon. That's it. So therefore, they take it quite seriously. But it's of course the hottest part of summer too. So genius ideas. I'm going to go over here and hit like share button. Hopefully, you guys do the same. And I'm also going to see if everything's working because it's the first time I've live streamed since rebuilding the computer. So let me do that. And you guys tell me if you can hear me and everything sounds good. It kind of sounds like, yeah, okay. No, no, no. It looks good. Everything's working. Nice. Can you hear me just fine there, Roger? Just let me know. I know that it should be if you guys want to. Of course, it doesn't really matter. But we should be streaming in 4K now, I would assume. I can already hear the difference with my. I can already hear the difference with my voice. Let me know as the show goes on how things are going over there, Roger, and how you guys are hearing it. Because with the new setup I got, we should be in 4K. I know we could do 1480p. Well, we definitely had that ability. Um, but I mean, 14, what is it? 1420, whatever it is. But 1080, of course, is what most people are probably watching it. But this new system should push up to 4K. I don't know if anyone really needs that. Your voice is kind of gravelly there, Chester. You good? Yes, you're coming in fine. Yeah, I might be. I've had a lot of long nights and lots of sleep. I'm kind of on. I haven't really slept yet since yesterday this time. So I guess I've been up about oh almost 24 hours. Maybe that's why. But it is what it is. I can feel that my voice is that way. Oh well. I've tried to clean it up a little bit, but it is what it is. Let's see here. Let me get this up. Good. It is been long enough that I'm actually trying to have to remember how to do everything, and I kind of switched my entire UI around as well. I'm running off a top end now instead of a bottom end, which I used to do a long time ago, but it's been a while. Let's see here. There we go. Sweet. So how's your summer going, Roger? Your does but for right now you're 720. Yeah. Um yeah, maybe I have to change something in Streamlabs or I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant with this kind of channel. If we were doing like product reviews or some high end thing, you want to have that beautiful crisp 4K, right? But we're not doing that. So I think 720, 1080 is fine for what we do. I just noticed that I didn't really think about it much because I upgraded in very specific reasons to deal with city skylines and Sims. The Sims. That's really where I kind of focus. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. I'm just going to give some time for Thundera to come in. But some people want to play, and we're going to talk about this a little bit too today with Unreal Engine. Some people really want to play the high end stuff. And you had Remnant 2 come out, which really high end. You had the Harry Potter game, very high end. You need a very serious computer to run that at any kind of level. And we're going to talk about it a little bit today, about computers in general and what's going on with them, but also, graphics. And although everyone's very excited about Unreal Engine 5, because, when that's owned by Epic, right? The Epic Games, as they should be, because they're doing amazing things. It's incredibly beautiful. Although I will say that Unity still does what it does just fine. But Unreal Engine 5, as beautiful as it is deadly to computers. It is with all their ray tracing and the lumens kind of things they're doing with lumens. It's just pushing computers, beyond what they're really capable of, and therefore you have to upgrade to incredibly expensive stuff. Is that a good thing? And if you have the money, I guess. If you're more frugal, you're kind of screwed, I would say. And the problem is, it's all moving this direction, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Hey, Alan. I already need a new computer, and I haven't paid off my old one. Wow, that's painful. Yeah, yeah. See, I don't take loans, Alan. Luckily I never got never got into it younger when I was younger, credit cards and stuff. I'm lucky because I would have just like anyone else, right? But I just didn't. And then I got to a certain age and I was like, yeah, screw that. I'm not taking any loans. I'm gonna pay for it myself, and I've never allowed myself to do that. Handy, yeah, handy. But yeah, that sucks, dude. And especially because Alan, right now, it is a really cheap time to upgrade your computer. It really is. In America, if you're outside America, it's exorbitantly more. But in America, things are you could put it together a serious computer for $500, dude. I mean, really. It depends what you're doing. If you're doing a lot of art stuff, Blender, AI art, that kind of stuff, you need, you want to go with a very serious GPU, right? I mean CPU. And those are expensive rigs, but still, $500, $1,500, you can get a really serious computer right now, and that's awesome. And it just depends on what you need it for. A lot of people just play video games, which is mainly what I do. Um, uh, but uh, but I also do live streaming here, and I also edit and create presentations, or I guess you call it PowerPoints. I do that all the time, and that's gotten so sophisticated. You could put video and all animation, GIFs, all kinds of things in it now. It's really, really advanced itself. Um, I don't use the brand name stuff, so I use WPS for my presentation instead of PowerPoint, and I use GIMP instead of Adobe. But they work really well. And the best thing about them, Alan, they're free. They're free. Yeah, the problem, the gaming, like, we're going to talk about the problems with the future of gaming a little bit later. But most of the stuff that's out right now, um, you don't need a crazy powerful computer to run it. Most of it. Which is good. And like I said, you could build a really great $500 computer. Art is a whole nother thing. You need some serious processing and rendering power for art. And therefore you do need more powerful things. Some of the higher end CPUs are going to be really useful to you. Yeah, he said Dave said I went to Christian Academy. We didn't have computers, just typewriters. Yeah, no. When I was a kid, we didn't, I had computer, but mainly we still use typewriter. I went to typewriting class. Did you guys? It was actually a very useful thing. I did it because I didn't want to. It was in one of those years where I basically had way more credits than I really needed, so I didn't want to have to come in after lunch at all. So I took I had to fill a credit in the morning, and it was like first class typewriting class, which it kind of sucks in a way because you got to think quick, but man, it's all right. Alan says I can play Warcraft no problem, but Gotham Knights was very janky. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. They're getting rough, dude. It's it's really, this Unreal Engine 5, which is an amazing thing, and everyone's really rightfully so excited about it. But it's a good and bad thing, right? Because you know, with the power of that, it allows companies to do all kind of amazing things, and nerds are nerds, right? We're going to nerd, and I don't blame them for that. Do you? I certainly don't. But the problem that we have is that it's getting so powerful what they can do with it that it's really pushing your computers quite a bit. And to the breaking point, we're actually starting to see serious problems with CPUs burning up. Things. Literally connecting wires and stuff melting. AMD has had a lot of problems with that. That's a Taiwanese company. But it's just getting to the end. It's kind of like with batteries, lithium batteries. I did a show some time back where I talked about lithium batteries, and I explained exactly how they worked and why we're at a wall we can't get beyond. And we are. We need a new kind of energy, a new kind of battery technology. We need a lot of things. But lithium, it doesn't have any future in the way we think we want it to. The way governments are demanding that by 3030 everyone have an electric car. It's not sustainable. It's not even doable. It just isn't. And so we need something, but lithium batteries are at their limit. That's why we're starting getting to burn up in Samsung phones and all those kind of stories that come out. But your CPUs and GPUs are getting on the edge too. So what are we going to do about that? I don't know. But Unreal Engine 5 is an amazing thing. But the very first game that's using all of the assets available to creators is coming out next week, this week. What is this week? Either this week or next week. I think it's next week. No, it's this week. It's Heroes of or something of Averum. I have no clue what it really is. I saw it on the Steam page. But that is using the full potential of Unreal Engine 5. First game we've seen to do that. And everyone is anticipating an absolute CPU melting experience. So, they even the recommendations on that game are ridiculous, dude. I mean, most people do not have CPU or GPU configurations to run that game at all. My system, of course, I didn't upgrade my GPU because I got a 1080 Ti and well, that's a long story. I'm going to wait till the 50 series come out. But my CPU is the top of the line one. But with that GPU I have, I could barely play that game. Right? That's how ridiculously broken it is. It's not broken. It's just beautiful. Um, Lithium farming is also slave labor. Sure, anything that makes money is slave labor, dude. Welcome to the world. Let's see. Dave says 30 electric typewriters running in a room with no air conditioning while wearing slacks and a button down. Wow. Mormon, I see. All right. Or is the Christian academies do the same thing? Sounds horrible. Yeah, I didn't go to seminary. I went to, you know, the place where all the professors look down on you year after year. They're horrible, incredibly snobbish people. But yeah, no, Unreal Engine 5, I might as well jump over since I'm already on it. Might as well just do it. All right, fine. Here we go. I was going to start out with that story, but that's all right. Okay. Here we go. I'll come back to this one, I guess. But where's the one where talking about this? No, 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 no. Oh yeah, this one. Okay. So you know, this article here from Flanier, and of course there are many articles you can search on the internet and find anything. There's a lot of computer nerds and people in the tech industry uh, talking about Unreal Engine 5 in a variety of ways. Um, it's not only are they doing amazing things, and people are expecting that we might actually cross the uncanny valley with Unreal Engine, which who knows. I don't think so, but it might. But I've heard those kind of speculations. But mostly what people are talking about is it's too overpowered. And we've already seen, the incredible amount of troubles people were having running this at high end on, say, the Harry Potter game. Now, you can play at a lower rate, although Unreal Engine is pushing beyond what the bottom end is. You can run something on 720, 720p. You can certainly do it, but your engine that you have might not even be enough to do that. Like you said, your thing was very janky when you were trying to play. What is that? Oh yeah, Gotham Knights, which is a newer game, and some of the new, and that's not even using all the potential. And some of the other Unreal Engine stuff are people having a lot of trouble with it. Even turning, I'm not talking setting yourself on ultra. I'm talking about just coding down, bringing it down as far as you can. But we're going to see more and more trouble for that. And I thought, and when this at the open up this week, that Avarum game, it like I said, it's the first game. It looks beautiful. It's an FPS. I don't like FPSs, so I won't really play it. But I'll certainly pay attention to it because it is the first game that is using all of what Unreal Engine 5 offers. There's been other games come out, but they didn't use this asset or didn't use that thing or this or that or the other. But this game is using everything, so it'll be very interesting to see what you really need to run it. They gave some expectations, but many of the reviewers are like, "Yeah, I don't think so." Because you're going to be looking at incredibly low frame rates. Now, when we talk about FPS, not first person shooter, but your frames per second, um, it's becoming more and more and more important. When I was younger, it didn't matter as much, but then again, we were more patient. But FPS now is just simply about playing something not janky, like you said, Alan. Um, like when I have one of the big reasons I really wanted to update my computer was I really enjoy City Skylines, games like that, The Sims. But if I'm playing in a city that I've been building and say I got, I don't know, 70, 80,000 people in it, it's a pretty sizable city for City Skylines. I've seen bigger for sure. But you work on that for a long time, but it takes so long to load it, and it's really struggling to handle that mammoth load of data. Because with a game like that, it's not these crazy, and it is a pretty game, I think, but it's not these crazy high-end graphics we're seeing these days. But what's killing you with that is if you have 80,000 citizens in your city, you have 80,000 AI operating off your system. And that's not including all the little vehicles and objects that are also have their own kind of interaction with it. But one of the things about those kind of games is each person in the game is literally represented. They're making decisions, choices. They're traveling this place or that place, which is the cool thing about the game. But it's a heavy, heavy load. Sims can be very similar to that when you have large numbers. But this right here is talking more about the super, super GPU stuff and the high end. And let's take a look at it. So this is what they're suggesting that you need to have to run Unreal Engine 5. And I'll try to explain it. But I'm assuming you guys know stuff anyway. If you don't, just yell at me. So you need a Windows 10, which is good because Windows 11 sucks. How many of you guys in the chat are actually using Windows 11? I was lucky. I had kept it on my old drive, and I cloned my entire drive. Uh, um, uh, and it's the first time I was able to do it in such a smooth fashion. It was so beautiful, dude. I just got lucky, I think. But I cloned everything over, no problem. And my Windows 10, everything was in place. I didn't lose nothing, even got muffed, and I was cloning on from one drive to another, right? Which some of you might say, well, that's easy. I do it all the time, Chester. Well, I'm older, and that was hard thing for me to learn how to do. But so Windows 10 is better anyway. But a lot of things are wanting to push you up to the Windows 11 because of the DirectX 11 and 12, which is a Microsoft product. And a lot of games, and we're going to talk about Intel here in a minute, they lean heavily on Microsoft, right? Anyway, you need a quad core, which a lot of the more expensive CPUs have that anyway. Although I wasn't really in my things to talk about today. Intel is moving away from quad core and going into more quads, which is interesting. Because you guys probably know what it is, but just for the sake of it, a core is basically the calculator inside of your CPU, because CPU is just a big old super calculator, right? And if you have four cores, well, that means you have four calculators working for you, right? If you have those four cores and they have, say, four threads each, well, each thread and each cord is its own little calculator doing its own thing. So if you have four cores and you have four threads, you have 16 little calculators just kicking ass. And then the speed that your CPU is moving gives you how many millions or billions of actions each one of those little calculators is doing per second. And so that's what all that kind of core stuff is. And Intel is moving away from quad core, which is interesting because it is such a successful format. But anyway, you need a quad core AMD 2.5 gigahertz or faster. You should be able to do that. Um, Yeah, I mean, plenty of people are sitting on 3 or 3.5 right now, I think. I don't know what you guys got. Windows 11 is just crap. It is crap, Roger, and I refuse to use it. So I don't. I use Windows 10 because it works well. Honestly, Windows 7 worked really well too. And you can find old emulators in Windows 7. I've seen them. It's pretty cool. Anyway, 16 gigabits. Everyone's got that. 32. Most people have that. I think a lot of people have it. I don't know how many much. And grab our RTX 3070. So we're 30 series and up. Now, these are requirements, which means minimum. Look at that. You need at least 2.5 gigahertz, which puts most of the planet's computers out, right? They're out. Because those computers probably don't have GPUs anyway. Because it used to be you didn't, GPU was kind of built in to the chipset, and you didn't really, or the motherboard, and you didn't really have to worry about it. It's just with this push, NVIDIA really wanting, more and more graphic fidelity, which, thank you NVIDIA, is why it's become a thing. And we just used to call them our video card back in the day. Now they gotten all fancy. But this right here, it's not that amazing, but dude, I wonder how many people actually have that kind of computing capacity. I wish I had some people here to give me information. If you guys know anything in the chat, let me know. But I would think a lot of people have this minimum, but that might be their maximum though, because this won't run everything Unreal Engine is going to be putting out. It won't. It simply won't. And keep in mind, we're only on the 40 series right now, so a 30 series was, this isn't 3080 or 3090, so it is a little bit low, but those are good. Those are good GPUs, dude. 30 series was excellent. 40 series isn't. So this is giving more information of processing power. That's basically the thing. But here's the optimal, all right? They're giving information on what the optimal is. So, what does it want you to have? Well, um, it wants you to have that as many cores as mm, possible, and of course, VRAMs become a very big thing, and that's one of the reasons why I continue to use my GTX 1080 Ti's because even though it's 7 years old, or 6 years old, it has 10 gigs of VRAM. And a lot of the new ones that come out don't have that much. So that's why the thing sticks in there. So they basically want you to have an i9, Intel i9 or the AMD equivalent. And I just bought one. How much did I pay for it? $1,000, was it? No, I guess in American dollars it'd be like 850 or something like that. And you can go out and buy a really well like an i5 iCore 5 series. For if you want to just play games, the thing will kick ass with most games. And like I said, you get that super cheap. Um, so they're telling you you need the best you can get to use, and everyone shifted over to Unreal Engine 5. Keep that in mind. We've talked about that here before, and I know you're all seeing it. Everybody and their brother wants to get on Unreal Engine 5, which is it's cool because it is amazing what they're doing with it. I've watched many videos. It's impressive. But that means you're going to have to upgrade to a kind of serious machine if you want to play any of these new games that are coming out. Otherwise, stick to your little mobile games or some of the older titles, which are fun. I still play a lot of those. Those are great. But the newer stuff coming out is really going to push people out of the market. And they really want, what do they say here? 16 core ranging with threads. Goodness gracious, dude. Memory. Let's see, the RAM, 16 gigabytes. That's pretty standard. Most people have 32. I got 32 on this machine. But it doesn't tell me what series. Probably wants DDR4, possibly DDR5. Video card DirectX version. Yeah, well, Intel and Microsoft, of course, with their DirectX series, they do a lot of stuff. Matter of fact, DirectX 11, Intel's new Arc GPUs is operating really well on that, which that's a downgrade. That's the last series, but anyway. Minimum software requirements. Yeah, of course you want a DirectX end user, of course, which is not a big deal. Rendering features, lumens. This is a killer. The lumens are absolutely killing everything. You can shut it off, but the problem is when they if you go watch some of the documentaries on what they're doing, lumens, when that feature is on, it looks amazing. It really looks more lifelike, especially if you're inside a room or cave or you're in a shaded area. But the problem is when you turn the lumens off because they were built with lumens in mind. When you shut those off, now it's way too dark. You can't see anything because it's not built in the old way where everything is actually quite bright in reality because you need to play the game, you have to be able to see it. Now because you're shutting that off and you're losing the light source, you are in a very dark situation, and that's not good. And like I said, it's such a cool feature. People making it are going to want to be able to use it. Why wouldn't they? And keep in mind, a lot of this stuff in here is really talking minimal because I watched a bunch of other stuff, and the Unreal Engine 5 is really, really pushing even the top end computers. Keep in mind, AMD had a problem for a while here recently, this past year, and yeah, this past year, where running some of these incredibly powerful games with these amazing CPUs and GPUs, but they were burning out the GPU. I mean, I upgraded, and I'm still a little concerned about it, but I have a. I'm going to get into cases in all the parts of the computer here in a minute, but I have a kind of an older ATX case. It's a Tough Alliance, Tough Gaming Alliance, uh, and it's one of the Taiwanese things. You got that one. You got the ROG, Republic of Gamers. They're a Taiwanese company, I think. But I've had this thing forever. It's built like a freaking tank. It's beautiful. I love it. Right. And like I said, it's 10-year-old ATX case, but it's still great. But when I went and tried to fold everything in, I all the upgrade parts I built for it, boy, it was tight, dude. I had to move my fans all the way to the left. I had to stack. I have my freaking GPU running from the front wire instead of the back. I had to, oh my God, dude. There was all kind of nonsense I have to do. It looks like a mess in here, and I could barely fit it. And one of the problems, of course, is the motherboard is much more serious. I did upgrade to a Z790, but the frickin' I had to put water cooling on this damn i9, dude. Intel i9. I've never done that before, and I was really worried about it. But they assured me, many reviewers online and the dudes at the store where I bought the parts, that nah, it's no problem, dude. Just replace it every 5 years. I'm like, oh, okay. You don't have to touch it. So I put it in. It's in. It's there. It's got RGB everywhere. Everything's got RGB now. But even my RAM sticks have RGB on it. I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, my point is I'm going to have to next time I'm going to have to get another case. The old boy's got to go into retirement, but that's my point. Everything is getting bigger and bigger, and more and more powerful, and it's that's cool, but it's also kind of creating a money problem. Even as cheap as things have gotten in certain regards in America, anyway, it's just more money than the average person would want to spend. And the Harry Potter thing, I'm kind of wondering how many people are disappointed with that in a way, because you know it's an amazing looking game if you have the system to run it. And it's kind of cool. I mean, I read all those books to my kids when they were young. We went and saw the movies. It's my kids' generational, IP, right? And it's a wonderful story. That lady did a really good job, and I think Christopher Columbus and that folk that put the movies together did a good job too. And so if you grew up with that and that's your thing, and you have an opportunity to actually go to Hogwarts and be a student and all these amazing adventures and this great storytelling they're doing in that sounds like something you would love to do, right? But a lot of people are having to run that thing on, it's, turn every setting down to its lowest just to be able to move without being janky or stuttering. And I've actually seen code when, feedback code when a video game is stuttering, and it's really interesting to see the actual frequency modules as they're moving across the screen, because you can see what's happening with the weight and lag. Because a lot of times, especially if your GPU and your excuse me, your CPU and your GPU are not you know some well paired. You don't, because you don't want to bottleneck it. If your GPU is too weak, and the CPU will bottleneck, and it creates a lot of pauses in the translation of information, and this is what causes the jankiness, right? But anyway, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. There's plenty of things you guys can go watch talking about this, but it's an interesting problem to have, isn't it? Because we want cooler looking, we want better graphics, we want that. But Unreal Engines get to a point that I think it's going to put a lot of normies out of most of the big titles, unless they just bite the bullet and go spend that, you know, 15, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, depending, right? I don't know. How much have you guys spent for your computers over the years? Let me know. I know I've spent a lot. Just ask my wife. But I'm always, wanting to upgrade. And when you look at over a period of time, I don't think it's that bad. I probably, if you look at it year to year, I probably only spend about 500, $600 a year on the computer, really. If you break it down to an annual cost, so it's not that bad. But it's all in one lump sum, right? Nevertheless, let's move on. That is, it's an interesting conundrum with Unreal Engine 5. Absolutely what we want, but boy, it's really, really, really going to force the market, and maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Force a lot of normies to get out of their damn consoles and get proper computers. You know, I suppose the console is useful because it is a cheaper product, and you can just play games with it, and they're always trying to stay on top of that in the best way they can. But the the difference between a proper gaming computer and a an Xbox or a PlayStation, it's freaking night and day, dude. They're not even close, right? But it's a value thing, right? Want to talk about this real quick? Well, I have a list of upcoming video games this week that are releasing. We'll look at here in a minute. But I know I saw this, and we mentioned it a couple times. But with the release of that new movie with King Kong and Godzilla working together against some other mega ape, um, they've come out with a video game, not a mobile app, an actual video game. Uh, we're going to look at the company. I don't know the company, but I do have their page here. But basically, this is before he's King Kong. He's just Kong. And of course, his parents are dead. We know that those things murder his family. And he's just trying to survive and do his thing. And you're moving around the island. It's the third person fighting game. Yeah, it could be a lot of fun you know. And I know a lot of the people on this channel love King Kong. You guys are big King Kong fans, and I know if Thundero here, he would be super excited. So, um, you know, I haven't even checked. Is he here? I don't hear him. Well, someone's in here. Is that Grimlock? Let me go check him. I might have I got people in here. They're not talking though. Give me a talk, guys. I can't hear anything from you. Yeah, let me check real quick. Now that's all working. Let me go to the Discord. Sorry, I should have paid closer attention. Let me go to Discord. It's usually Discord. Of course, it's Discord. I'm going to audio here, voice and video. All right. Inputs. Keep talking, guys, until I can hear you. Go ahead. Grimlock, you are muted. I can't hear you, Tower, at all. Go ahead, Tower. Oh, there you go. All right. There you go. Yeah, I can hear you now. Let me just make sure I didn't screw anything up so that they can still hear me on the other side, though. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, no, everything looks good. Everything should be fine. Go ahead and speak again. I can hear you, but they can't. All right, let me come in here and. All righty. Here we go. Let's see here. Yeah, I think it's just one of those things. Kick it and reset it. Yeah, it's one of those things. No, 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 no. Just give me a second and see if I can't. Here we go. Just keep talking, please.
Chester is the bestest.
I know,
Is
I
that what?
know
Is that what?
that is
Hey,
the way to
you
go.
you sound a
Keep
little
talking. There you
down
go.
today.
They should be able to hear you
Yeah.
now. There we go.
All right.
Alrighty,
Coolio.
and they can hear me.
Yeah.
Let me just come over here and check and make sure that they agree. And you're
Huh?
whistling now. If you need a case for PC, why don't you ask Thundera to ship you one? Well, I can get everything I need here. I'm going to get into that in a minute, Roger. I can get everything I need here. Actually, there's a different problem here. It's not attainability or availability. It's the problem in Japan is the market is so small of people who actually own PCs, which I know is shocking because Japan is leading edge of PC sales. At least they were, right? Um, but it's such a small number of people who do it here. There's no competition, so the prices are triple, quadruple America. I saw some prices that were 5 times what you guys can pay for something.
Is
So,
that hey, Chester? When you say PC, like just regular portable computer, right?
well, I
Because
don't know.
we got
Mine isn't very portable, but yes.
I got you. Well, I got, or I'd say like a laptop. I mean, my sister got a laptop for school.
Mhm.
Does everything you needed to do. It was only like $100 US dollars.
Yeah, no, no, no. That's what I mean. If you don't need a gaming system, you're not doing art. We have a lot of artists on this channel, so they're screwed. They have to spend the money. But if you're just doing word processing or or going on the internet, watching YouTube, you don't need much, dude. Yeah, you can get away real cheap. Like I said, you can buy a pretty solid in America. You could buy a pretty solid gaming computer for about $500, which
Oh
is
yeah,
comparable to a PlayStation. And therefore, why would you buy the frickin' PlayStation? I mean, honestly,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Now, what I'm talking about today, though, is a little bit different. I wish Grimlock, where he did he fall asleep in his slushy? I bet you he did. But what we're talking about here today is how things in the graphical world, yeah, are getting so advanced and so sophisticated with stuff like Unreal Engine 5, particularly with popularity, and so many companies jumping over to Unreal Engine 5, which is great for them, right? Epic must be absolutely elated, right? But the problem with that is the potential of Unreal Engine 5 is very serious, and its low end is not very attainable unless you go out and spend. I mean, honestly, if you want to play any kind of Unreal Engine 5 game coming up, like I said, this week we have the very first one that's using all the little goodies that Unreal Engine 5 has. The first one to do it. So we're going to have more and more coming after that. But if you want to get into play those games in any kind of smooth, high FPS and pretty nice fidelity, dude, you're looking at spending 3, 5 grand on a computer, right?
oh yeah,
And some people are, enthusiasts as they call them, like myself, will spend it happily. But there's a lot of people. It's like, dude, man, I could do a lot more things with that kind of money. And most people, like your sister, have just the little word processing, and it's fine for what she needs it for. But if they see some little fun, like Harry Potter just came out, and a lot of computers can't run it, right? Not run it well anyway.
yeah.
And I mean, that's a generational IP, dude. There's tons of people that want to go play that game, even if they're not a normal gamer, right? And this is
Oh
kind of
yeah.
the problem on what I'm talking about today is where things are going, right? It's really pushing the industry. But anyway, okay, everyone can hear now. So I'll get to that in a minute. Let me go over here and go back to what I was doing. What was I doing? Yeah, I was doing that. So we got a new Kong video game coming. A lot of people like Kong over here, Tower. You like
That's
King Kong?
so.
You King
Yeah,
Kong fan?
yeah. I actually don't get me wrong, I didn't really get into the older stuff. I mean, I've seen a little bit of the older stuff, I guess.
Yeah, no, you
But
kind of had to be born into it, I think. Yeah. It's old as
yeah,
shit.
the I mean the early 2000s stuff. I mean, or not early, but like uh, what would I say? What was it, 2016 where they rebooted it?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Like,
it's
I,
been they did a good job. Yeah.
I'm gonna see. Yeah, yeah. I could say I thoroughly enjoyed those.
Yeah, I think so. Um, you know, the first one, as far as the human part, was probably the best of it, but honestly, just less human stuff. Well, that's not where we just want to see the giant monsters kick each other's ass. I mean, that's all we want. And the human stuff is so lame, dude. It's so stupid. But that's
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
that's not
I agree. You know, with the Kong movies and stuff, my honest opinion is like, you know what? A little bit of human stuff, makes just for like a general narrative. Like, what was it? The second or third one in the reboot? I forgot what it's called. That was okay, but like the
okay.
first one, it's like, why is it? Yeah, it's like, well, like the first one, it's like, why is the whole story about this Marine dude? Like, who cares about the Marine dude?
And the best actor they killed off in very early in the movie. But yeah, no, I mean, Sans the Humans, those movies are great. Oh, how wonderful it was to see in that level of really, really lovingly created CG of Godzilla and King Ghidorah fighting, dude. That was cool. That was cool. But anyway, this game is being made by a company I don't really know. Where is it here? Uh, Jesus, I just had it sitting up here. Did I get rid of it? No, I certainly didn't, did I? Oh, here it is. I just didn't move it. Iguana B. You ever heard of Iguana B?
No, no. I mean, I
Well,
did right now,
well, they said they've
but
been making games for 10 years. I'm looking at a stream of their games, and they look very mobile to me, dude. Which is not, I mean, mobile can be fun too, but this is supposed to be a PlayStation PC game, right? So I don't know. They don't look, GI Joe Operational Blackout. Never heard of it. I like GI Joe. This one looks cute. What lies in the multiverse? But it's very colorful and cartoony. Can you see what I'm showing?
yeah, yeah. I can see what you're showing.
But everything's very cartoony and colorful. It's like the '90s again. The '90s was like a Technicolor yawn of it was so bright and outrageously colorful. I guess it's back. Cool. Now I wonder what
Okay.
motivated that. Any idea why are things becoming so colorful again?
I don't know, but I'm happy about it.
Sure,
I
why not?
mean,
Yeah.
I remember like growing up in America in the early 2000s, you go to a McDonald's and the roof is red with French fries that are yellow as the
Yes.
drain gutters. And it's like,
Agreed.
that's cool to look at. And now you look at everything like, oh, look, it's a gray square with white outlines, or it's a black square with gray outlines.
Well, don't get me into brutalism tower because this whole shift away from the beautiful architecture of the pre 1960s, just gorgeous, gorgeous old world architecture into this with which the architects call it brutalism. That's literally what they call the style, and that we've been under that my entire life, and our entire life. It's just this ugly white squares, like you said, just ugly shit. Um, and yeah, it was nice to see that at least into the '80s, early '90s, some of that color and enthusiasm survived a little bit. But so yeah, color's not bad. I'm just wondering where it's coming from, and I wonder if anybody in the chat knows because Old McDonald's was fun. That's true. GI Joe Blackout was a bomb and sucked hard. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the reason I'm showing this company, Eric, because it doesn't look great. It doesn't look great. I'm not confident. I don't have big confidence in the new King Kong game. I know it's probably just one of those things. Hey, we got a new movie. Get a video game on it. It's probably that, and it's got to suck balls because I have no clue who these guys are. And this isn't even baseball. It's a Little League World Series. I mean, geez, how do you get
Wait,
the
wait, 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 wait. Did I hear that right? Wait, repeat what you just said.
Little League World Series is the game they're showing?
That is a thing.
Oh, sure, I grew up with it.
Why is there?
Um,
Why is there a Little League World
It
Series?
was quite popular actually back in the day. It spawned a couple of movies. The Bad News
Really?
Bears being the most popular of them, but there was one called Six Pack with Kenny Rogers as a star. But there were others. But yeah, it was quite popular. But the Asians were caught cheating always, over and over and over and over again, and it just kind of soured everybody to it. They still do it, but it just doesn't get any press anymore. The Taiwanese and the Chinese were just outrageous in their. It's supposed to be kids, right? And they would just
Yeah.
find young adults and throw them in, young-looking adults, small adults. And Asians are so little
Oh, so
anyway.
they'd have like a 22-year-old that's
Yes, yes,
playing the 14-year-old.
right. It's like when
Oh,
the
that's
the Summer Olympics we had in China. Was it 2 Olympics ago? I don't know. But I think it was two Olympics ago. The like swimming or diving team or some team they had standing for a photo, and they had them in their actual, their athletic wear. They're very tight, little tighty things, and all of them,
yeah.
they relatively small peni, but every one of them had penises, which is not necessarily a problem, except that was the women's team. Okay, China. Yeah. Uh, Chinese,
Oh
man.
man. Oh man. Well, they're big on the lady boys, aren't they? Isn't that a thing?
Thailand.
Chicks with dicks, or
Thailand. Yeah.
dudes with tits.
It's mainly Thailand. I'm sure you can find it everywhere, I suppose. It's not like this is,
I don't know,
technology's
Justin.
allowed them to do more, but
I'm a dumb American. All Asians look alike.
I know. Even though that's,
Except for, I will say, Japanese are distinctly a little bit different. But like, you tell me to point out a Chinese to a Chinese to Vietnamese, and I'm like, which ease is this one?
well, if you see a Turkish person and standing next to a Russian person and standing next to an English person, can you distinguish?
Um, maybe. I think probably could tell the
Hmm.
like the Russian from the English. I don't even know what a Turk looks like.
Well, I mean, it's okay. It's kind of my shtick. It's what I do. So it's no big deal.
Wouldn't a Turkish person look more like Eastern because the Ottomans took over Turkey?
They would be more swarthy, more Persian looking.
Swarthy.
Yeah,
Swart. There you go. There you go. That's the word. I was trying to think of the word, and I didn't want to just sound blatantly dumb and racist.
it's okay. It's not a big deal, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, the Asians, they cheat. I don't understand, why. I mean, because what's the point if you can't win legitimately? What's the value of it, right? What's the point? But anyway, the little league World Series thing was a real thing. But anyway, let's move on. Now today we're going to be talking about mostly computer stuff, and I do have a couple of stories I thought we'd look at. Now I brought this up for PC World. Corsair debuts water blocks and reservoirs with the IQ Link support. This might not mean anything to most people listening, but RGB, which just means red, green, and blue, right? It's a term goes way back to old TVs when color TVs started coming in. It's computers have used it the whole time, but it's become very popular. I didn't really care about it. My last update I did to this computer a little over 6 years ago. I actually got RGB, and it just kind of came with some of the gear I bought, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But it's gotten to such an extreme with everything having blinky, colorful lights, and that's why I asked you the question of where all this colorfulness is coming from, and I'm kind of wondering if the computers
No,
haven't pushed it.
I I actually wouldn't doubt that. I mean, there is a few things that seem to be coming back. Like I noticed, not with like glasses and things too, or is like the see through aesthetic. Or like 2000, what was it, 2006 to 10? Everything you could get, like you get a TV, you get a computer, and you can see the insides of it. You get a TV, you can see
Yeah,
the insides of
yeah,
it. Your remote controllers, everything with your
yeah.
PCs, like that seems to be making a return too.
It
I guess
does,
in ways.
like the old Game Boy, right? The Steam Decks, which are becoming more and more popular because they're becoming more accessible. One of the big trends recently is the clear case. Upgrading it, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, no,
so you can
you're
see
right.
what's inside of
Um,
it.
and Alan, that's
It's
not a
weird because
blender.
it's a term
That's a
that
liquid cooler,
it,
sir.
yeah. I mean, it went from being a thing to like not a thing to we're back doing it. It's like the mullet, like the mullet's fucking coming back in the U.S.
And
a
the
little bit.
mustache. That's the one that bugs me the most is the mustache, to be honest with you, because
What's wrong with the mustache? I have a mustache.
mustaches suck.
How?
They only are appropriate for Tom Selleck and porn actors. Only. That's the rule. But anyway,
Chichester, you eat a good southern biscuit with honey, a little bit of the honey stays in your
I have a
mustache,
beard. I
and
have a
then give
proper
girls,
man hair. You know.
then you understand.
Yeah, I do. But I'm not
But
going to go to that lame level. I'm not doing it.
lame.
But anyway,
I would,
uh,
I could just, I haven't shaved my mustache though in like 7 years, so I guess I'm biased to it.
oh no, no, it's just trends come and go. It's like a circle. But talking about RGB, these new updates I did came. I don't really care about it, but it's very very popular. But all of my fans in here are RGB, right? My motherboard has lights encoded in it as well. My cooler, my liquid cooler radiator has lights on it, and the actual cooling attachment onto the top of the CPU has a actual LCD screen that I can program, which I haven't. It just got the tough gaming logo on it. My freaking RAM sticks have lights, blinking rainbow lights on them, dude. My graphics card is all lit up. And I got a big old light up here with my power supply. My on off thing's all lit up. And I don't even care about it. It just kind of like automatic because I want to get quality stuff and it all comes with this RGB. Now I'm using, because I had to pay more attention to it, so I actually paid attention to that upgrade. I'm using the Asus Sync system. And it works just fine for my level of interest. And the Asus Sync, I have with my motherboard, I have a, bit of a software that allows me to go in and monitor the heat and the speeds and all kind of great data. What's going on my computer? It also controls universally the ATX box, all the equipment with lights, and including I just bought a new logical carbon keyboard, which is freaking awesome. That's full of lights too. I'm using the Asus Sync, but Corsair is one of the strong, dominant companies in computer world these days. And they have this new thing. I watched a documentary on it. It's called the IQ Link system, and it does look pretty cool. Because especially people get serious and everything's literally blinking inside of their computer, everything. This allows everything to be plugged into one hub, and you control it from that one hub. Whereas mine is, I'm doing the software is doing that for me, but I'm like I said, not very serious about it. So I watched a documentary at they had a computer fair in Taiwan here a month or so ago, and I watched kind of a whole bunch of stuff with new stuff that's coming out. I like that. And this new IQ Link, if you're into the RGB or the ARGB, is what I have now. You can actually address it. You can do all kind of my keyboard, dude. It can do all kind of fancy shit now. It's not just lit. It's just stupid what it can do. Spins and it does all kind of stuff. But Corsair is good company. So if you're a type person who really likes the RGB, especially the new AR GP, which allows you to control it and do all kind of fancy stuff, Corsair is certainly a good company. I actually am using their system through ASUS Sync, so that's pretty cool. So Corsair, a good company. IQ Link looks really interesting, by the way. Now you don't have a computer, right? You just work off of a phone, right? Tower.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where Tower
Oh,
went, but
oh, hi. You finally woke up. How was the slushy?
no, I was here the whole time. I was just letting you go, talking about your computer. You you seem to be happy with the results.
Oh, I'm very happy. I am. I'm just kind of trying to go through because my theme I got going on, as you've heard, is the software is pushing the market to a point that a lot of the normies, I don't know how well they're going to swallow that pill. You know what I mean?
I don't I don't know because one of the big problems, or at least in gaming still, is the fact that a lot of these games are not really optimized for PC. Like, yeah, you got your minimum requirements and that, but you have a lot of games that on these PCs where you would think they would run easier, run like absolute dog shit.
Yeah, well, you have to. A lot of times you have to update your BIOS, which that's just it's just an update for your overall software. But a lot of times you
Yeah,
have to go in and to adjust things. And most people have no clue how to do that. Now, when you restart your computer, if you just keep hitting the button, it will pop in and allow you to look at all the kind of interesting things your computer is doing. If you take it to a tech, that's what
yeah,
they do. Now, you can still do that, but you have the software on the front end now,
yeah.
or back end, no, front end, yeah. Where I don't even need to do that anymore. I can just turn my computer on and just turn the software on, and I have this ridiculous amount of data, dude, that I can look at to what my computer is doing, right? And it has all kind of control stuff. It's really, really cool. And it's great information, especially for nerds,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
But I'm really, because I don't know. I mean, how much would you pay? I mean, say there were a whole bunch of really gorgeous looking games that are getting great reviews. How much would you be willing to pay for a computer? Because the thing is, the consoles are not going to keep up with it. They're going to have to start charging like $2,000 for a PlayStation to keep up. Really. So, and maybe that's what they'll do. But
I don't
how
know.
much would you be willing to put down to be able to play a really cool game?
Well, considering that that purchase has to be, for, at least for me, viable for 5 years.
Sure. Yeah.
2000. I know a lot of people hear 2000 and that sticker shock hits them. That would be the top end. I would pay like that would be the
The most, yeah.
like
See,
if I really wanted to go for it. But I'm gonna be honest, like right where the consoles are now, because I don't do that much with a computer to justify spending that much more.
mm,
So like $600, 600, $700 would be my cap right now for a PC.
right? And you can get a fun game that run a lot of the cool games like Steam and stuff like that. For $500, you can do it. And like I said, you know, it's going to run way better than your PlayStation or Xbox will, right? Especially if you optimize it the way you're supposed to.
Well,
Uh,
I would say the two current ones, the five and the Series X, are pretty good. The problem is,
they're not bad,
as
no.
far as I'm concerned, neither one of them has enough games to
No,
justify
they don't.
me.
Which is why you need a
Like,
PC.
no, I'm gonna be honest, not even PC. Like, right now there's right now if I had to come up with a list of 10 games that would justify me that buying a PC, I couldn't come up with one.
Dude, Steam has thousands of games. If you're not a PC
Yeah, but
person,
I'm
then you don't know about Steam.
I know, but I'll be honest. Right now, my rotation is of games that I'm playing is still relatively small. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm still playing Monster Hunter World, and that game is 5 years old.
It's a good game though. My son really liked that. Um,
Yeah,
no, I mainly play sim games. City Skylines and The
yeah,
Sims is what I usually play. So I don't need I don't need this monster GPU to run these new games. What I need is load help, because it's
yeah.
such a load. And that's why I upgraded to the i9 Intel i9. And boy, what a difference! I was running an eighth gen i7. I
Yeah.
think it was i7K. So it's fine, but wow, I got a i9 1390K, right? Dude, it's such a difference. It's really nice because when I
You
load
said
like a big
I
city, it
nine.
take forever to load, right?
You said you had the i9 13.
Thir- uh, uh, 1390K is what I got. If
Hmm.
I were like Alan and I was doing a lot of art rendering, I would go with a KS, I guess. But I'm not Alan, or Eric. So the K is it's top end and it's going to run any kind of thing you want. The thing is, AMD is a little in the lead, I would say, for gaming CPUs, and
Hmm.
especially GPUs. But the reason why I stick with Intel and NVIDIA is they do everything well, right? So if you
Hmm.
take some of these AMD cards and you compare them side to side against the CPU or GPU operations, the AMD will usually be slightly higher, right? But the simple fact of the matter is,
Hmm.
take them and then run them from in other things, they're going to be dog shit. That's the thing about Intel; it does everything well, right? And Nvidia, I don't. I was thinking about building an AMD, system. I do like the Taiwanese people, and I want to support them. But Nvidia is such a broader company, right? And
Mhm.
you know, one worry with Nvidia is it looks like they might be. We don't know when, but looks like they might be moving out of the high-end gaming GPUs soon. And that sucks for everyone. But the reason they're doing it is because their baby is AI, and their new Grace Hopper system, which literally is the size of a freaking room. Um, uh, they're the ones that are making AI happen. Nvidia is. I know a lot of people don't know that, don't understand that, I think. But that's their baby. That's where all their focus is over there. The gaming thing makes them money, but I don't think they care about it right now. And I understand why. But anyway, let's move on here. I got a couple of stories. This right here, Microsoft's preparing new Surface hardware for next month. Now, I might be in the market for a new tablet, Grimlock.
Hmm.
Mhm. The last time I bought an Apple iPad Pro, I know I'm an asshole. I know.
Hmm.
But I did it is because they had LTE, and I wasn't confident with the Wi-Fi Robins that were running at that time. Uh, when I buy my new tablet, which is going to be soonish, uh, yeah, fuck Apple, dude. Fucking
Yeah.
Apple. Jesus, man. Bunch of dicks. That they're so restrictive. The system is such a pain in the ass. I would rather get a Microsoft or some kind of Android tablet, and just keep a Wi-Fi Robin in my pocket and pay for that, right? Instead of the LTE on the device itself. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
not doing it again. I ain't doing it again. Do you have an Apple? Anybody here have apples?
No, I don't hate myself enough to buy Apple.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I'm an asshole. I won't do it again. I won't do it again. So, like I said, I'm kind of in that electronic upgrade mode, right? Everything runs in cycles. My entire
Yep.
house electronics have their cycle. They just got replaced within the past few years. Everything's been replaced. Refrigerator, stove, I mean everything, right? So that cycle's good for a while. But I've kind of gotten into my computer, my tablet. I just bought my kids new phones, things like that. And
Mm.
I've been looking at the Surface for years, wanting to bite on it. Now I know Android is safer bet. I get it. Android has lots of access. They got a lot of cool things. Microsoft's a bit of a pain in the ass. Not as bad as Apple, but they're kind of in the middle, right? Wish Ben was here because he'd yell at me. Oh, dude, the new
Um,
stuff looks so good, man. Oh God, it's so close to being a computer in your hand, a real one.
I I would say if you don't want to deal with Microsoft or Apple shit, look for a tablet that is more just a straight up Android OS. Like
Yeah, no,
usually like the Lenovo's
yeah,
are
yeah, I know.
straight up.
Samsung's killer, dude. I
Yep.
know, and that's probably where I'm gonna go. But I've been looking every time they come out with a new Surface, I drool over it. I'm like, I should buy one. I should buy one. I keep telling myself to buy one, but then I go and I do something stupid. And I'm just because they are
Mm,
so clean, dude. And here's the thing: don't run Windows 11 on your computer. Don't do it. But if you got a tablet, it's great. And they kind of look like that's what they built it for.
mm,
To be honest with you. But oh goodness gracious. A couple of weeks, we're going to have all the detail. I have the reveal. We're coming up on the season, right? Now until October, we're going to get a lot of our tech drops, right? We already got some hints here at
yeah.
some of the tech shows that's been going on this summer. But is anyone else with me? Any of you guys bought a Surface or have been enticed by it? Because I'm super enticed. But I should just buy the new Galaxy Tab because they're badass.
I see some of the surfaces, like some of them are nice. Like you got the Surface Chromebook.
Right.
That one
I'm
usually
talking about tablet.
is, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It comes in. They have a tablet, but also they have like a straight up, I guess you could say, laptop version of it.
Oh, they do. Yeah, I've seen
Um,
that. Yeah, they got the studio too as well.
again, it's what are you looking for? What are you looking to spend? I would say it's just like the PC. What are you looking for? What are you looking to spend? Like um as taking a shot in the dark, I went and bought one of those cheap tablets you can get at Walmart,
Yeah,
and for what I needed to do, it's fine. I do see that like some of the newer apps that are clearly either not optimized or the system or the tablet just doesn't have the hardware to
right,
keep up with it.
right.
I see its obvious limitations, but for the price, for what I mostly bought it to do, which is for like very very basic shit, it's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. No, that and you
My
have to buy for what you're doing. That's true. If you're just playing
Yeah,
mobile games, man, shit, you can get away with very cheap.
I would say this could not handle some of the mobile games because like
That's true.
for for
They are.
for example, my last two phones are running we're both running the Snapdragon processor,
Yeah, yeah,
which is octa-core.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So most newer um, games, mobile games, they have gotten really, really graphics heavy to the point where like some of them, I would say could give console games a run for their money on how good they look. Like, I mean, I mean, we've seen Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact is a fucking mobile game that runs just as fine on console and PC as it does on the phone.
Right. No, you're right.
So
And no, some of them have been upgraded. You're correct. But I don't
yeah,
play many games on the tablet. I mainly use that for work. But
yeah,
and I don't know what you talk about. $400. My tablet I bought 5, 6 years ago cost me $1,600.
Jesus.
So I don't know what you're
Yeah,
talking
well,
about. But that is,
well, so, well,
Grimlock. That's a tax write-off, baby.
well, well. See, you're a businessman. You get to do that. So, us regular plebs are looking at it like $400.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But Japan is, in certain ways, Japan is much cheaper to live than where you are at,
Yeah.
right? But in other ways, it's stupid, right? Electronics, which you think Japan would be cheap, right? But no, electronics are stupid expensive. And fruit,
Hmm.
fruit. I mean, I mean, how much would you pay for a cantaloupe, a single cantaloupe?
I wouldn't because they're disgusting.
You got to turn up, dude. You're very, very low.
I would pay exactly $0 because they're gross. There you go.
Well, whatever. I mean, okay, a honeydew. All right, but how much would you pay for one? Just one melon?
Oh, let's see. I don't know because I haven't checked in the last couple years, but I know a few years ago it wasn't a lot. You could get them for pretty cheap, but nowadays it's a crapshoot. You just never know with this
What
inflation that
would
we're
you
getting
think
hit
is
with.
high end?
For one,
$4.
One
yeah,
single
four.
melon, yes.
Yeah, $4 or $5 is
Four or
probably
five
really
bucks.
high. That
Um,
that'd be some nice ass melon right
that's
there.
right. When I go to the grocery store here and look at melons, the top end costs over $100.
Good lord,
Yes.
that
Do you get a
that better be
blowjob
more
at
than
the
just.
fucking
That's
register when you buy that cantaloupe?
I'm just saying, Japan is stupid about
No,
stuff.
no,
But you can
no,
go
no,
buy
What
a
about
ten
hell,
thousand
hell no.
dollar
watermelons?
brand new car. However,
What about
I,
watermelons?
I,
watermelons are more like 15, $20.
Wow,
that's still too goddamn much.
that's
I get to the
outrageous.
Fruit.
register.
Japanese are
I
crazy
get to
about
the
fruit.
register. I demand some service.
In Japan, certain things are expensive. Fruit is expensive. Electronics are expensive. Well, unless it's a household necessity like a refrigerator, and they're still more expensive than you guys are paying, probably double. And another thing that's stupid is expensive is theater.
Hmm.
Like a lot of people won't come to Japan, they want to do kabuki. You better bring several $100s for your seat way back in the nosebleeds.
Oh,
Because
that's getting like that here for anything now, Chester. Like even
yeah,
because
I
I was
heard.
going to go to SummerSlam. SummerSlam was just a couple week or a week and a half ago, whatever it was,
Yeah,
2 weeks ago, and it was $300 a ticket for for
yeah.
even the terrible tickets. I'm like, nah, 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 nah,
I
nah, nah, nah,
saw
nah.
Hulk Hogan,
I,
Andre the Giant, and Roddy Piper together in the Garden.
Yeah,
18
yeah,
bucks.
yeah, yeah.
I feel good about my last two WWE purchases because both of them combined was like $50. So
Because
That's right.
they just did SummerSlam. It was in Detroit, and my buddy and I were like, let's go. We got a slap in the face of reality real quick. We could afford it, but there's just not a wrestling show in the world that I'm paying $386 for. That's not for one ticket. That's not happening. There's just
It's true,
you could
Alan.
resurrect all the greats together and have them wrestling in a big battle royal, and I'm still not paying $400 to go see it.
Right. Well, strawberries and where I'm at, Alan, are a little bit, a little cheaper. Not much, but a little bit, and as well as mandarin oranges because they produce them here. And they have this great little system in Japan that would never work in any other country on the planet that I know of, where they have these little kiosks on the side of the road. They have all their produce sitting right there. There's a little box with a hole in the top, and a price is listed on a usually handwritten piece of paper. You take your money, you put it in the box, which is not chained down, by the way, and then you take your produce or whatever else they're selling. I love the fact that they can do that in Japan and they never have problems. But
Yep.
you name one place in the world you can do that. Name one.
No, no, that's not going to happen
It's
anywhere else.
insane. But actually, I can pick up a little basket of strawberries for $12.
Wow.
So
Why is it? Why? Like, what's the reason behind the fruit pricing?
I don't know. It's the same. I think it's perception. It's the same thing with theater. Our culture is coming out of the English culture, right? And
Yeah,
the English,
theater's bawdy.
uh, well, and especially a few hundred years ago, where they were really trying to unify language and doing various things. It was very
Yeah.
bawdy, and people stood on the floor. There were no seats; they stood. Now the balconies cost some money, but the people didn't. It was like $1 or something like that. So we come from a culture where entertainment should be available to everyone, the masses included. Japan, these are luxury. Anything Japan perceives as being the rich is expensive. And we know the rich do this. The reason why certain things, you go to Monaco, you want to get a hotel room, get ready to spend thousands of dollars a night. I've seen
Yep.
hotel rooms in Monaco, seriously, with my own damn eyes. What's the top end price you think a night in Monaco?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm sure it's a lot, especially in Monaco.
Dude,
Uh,
over a hundred
Thou.
thousand dollars a
Yeah,
night. A night.
I could believe it. I could believe it. Yeah,
It's ridiculous. I've
it's a
seen
it's a place for rich people by rich people.
and and
Monaco.
and they overprice everything to keep you out.
Yes.
That's the whole point. It's
What's
because
funny is I used to live one of the places I used to live. Typically, I'm not going to say what it was, but typically people who live there are considered, poor. Except this one, they understood that principle. So in order just to live there, the rent was 4 times higher than any other in the entire area, and that was the reasoning. They didn't want trashy people living
yeah,
there.
they don't want
So
to. Yeah,
it,
that's
yeah,
exactly right.
same. It happens everywhere, and it's just at different levels. But when you get up into those upper echelons, then it starts to get just outrageous. When you think about the numbers, how like imagine $100,000 a night hotel room. That better be
It's
an
not.
experience,
It's not.
and it's not
It's
exactly. That's my
not.
point. It's not. It's just a little bit bigger than a regular hotel room,
Yeah.
basically.
Oh, they're a full suite, but I mean, it's not worth that. I went to a restaurant in Belgium once, and
Yep.
not too long ago, and I didn't pay for it, so what do I care? But
Yep.
it was all right. I've had better at the $20 dinner place, right?
Yep.
Really good few mom and pop, $20 each, 40, $50
Well, that's
meal, right?
that's why it's so weird to me that the fruit thing in Japan, because the Japanese are typically on other things very pragmatic. They're very like what's the word? Not pragmatic. What's the word I'm looking for? Uh, they're not that way, right? But then when it comes to certain things, like you said, they're just let's go
Yeah,
in.
it's if
And
it's
fruit
perceived as
of all things,
luxury, it's not for you.
fruit of
Yeah,
all
fruit. Now
the
Mekon,
things that literally grow in the freaking dirt. Yeah, that's
right?
we got to charge a lot for that.
Well,
Why? Because it's for rich
Mekon,
people.
which is a Mandarin orange, they're they're so prevalent that they are often just given away, especially in the villages.
Yeah,
So you can get fruit, but that's poor people's fruit, right?
right.
It's
Yeah,
just
that's not true.
perception, dude. It's just perception.
It's so weird.
But that Belgian
Like
restaurant I went to,
I understand why like caviar, for instance, is really expensive because it's extremely hard to get and extremely rare. And as far as I know, it's not even the caviar that most people think of, the really expensive stuff, it doesn't even exist in the wild anymore. It's only farmed because we, over farmed it basically. So I can understand why something like that would be really expensive. I personally think it tastes horrible,
uh,
but other people love it. Uh, so that makes sense to me because of the rarity and how hard it is to come by and da da da. That I can get, right? Rich people food that costs a lot of money, but fruit I'm boggled over here. It's everywhere. It's so abundant. Like I have an apple tree out front in my front yard. I can go out there and get apples and eat them. It's so abundant. I don't understand.
right?
It's very weird.
It is weird, and I don't understand it either because I've tasted the ultra rich stuff, and it's
Yeah.
not better. It really is
No,
just keep you out
peasant
because
food is the best. I
yeah,
don't
no,
care what anybody says.
yeah,
I don't care.
it's true.
It's so good.
Well,
It's not good for you, but it tastes so good.
right. Well, I don't know what the bill was because I wasn't paying. But the waiter did, because one of the guys was asking for a better champagne or a different
Yeah.
champagne, and he says, and the waiter said something, something, the $3,000 bottle. So that's the
Oh my
only
god.
time I heard money mentioned at all or saw money mentioned. So I know that the 5 bottles of champagne that were brought to the table were $3,000 each. So that's
I just don't get it.
$15,000 just in champagne.
I don't understand. Champagne's disgusting. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I think the people who like it, only like it once they have more of it, because then they start to get a little bit of a buzz, and now they like it more. When just the smell of champagne is hideous.
Yeah, I don't
It just
like brute.
is.
If it's not brute, I'm good.
Yep. Yep. I'm not a fan. I mean, I don't drink anyway, but even the times where I've been around it with other people and stuff, I don't understand why. I've tasted it, but I don't understand why anybody would. And I'm the same way with beer. I don't get it. It doesn't taste good.
Yeah.
It just
Well,
doesn't.
I'm
Why am
just
I drinking this?
made me wonder how much money do the professors in Europe actually get paid?
A
Dang.
little too much, it sounds like. Good
Obviously.
lord. The priest
Um,
class over there is doing well.
they are.
Holy.
But it's just depends where you are. Like I said, you can go buy a nice little town vehicle here in Japan for 10 grand, brand
That's
new.
amazing. 'Cause I don't think there's any car new you can get over here for 10 grand anymore.
Yeah,
I don't even think Kias.
little K,
I'm pretty sure Kias are over 10 for
and
a new
that's a
one. I
crap. Why
think.
would you buy a Korean car? What's wrong with you?
Listen, because some people don't got a lot of money, so they go buy the cheap one.
This is
And
what you do.
Kia used to around here. Kia around here used to do a buy one get one free, literally for a car. You'd go
Wow,
buy, so you and your buddy would go buy 2 cars for the price of one.
that's something inherently wrong here. Um, I see Sting has made an appearance. Um,
Yeah,
but no, it's I mean, well, how much did you pay for the Kia?
I didn't pay anything for a
Well,
Kia, but how much?
whoever, your
How many
friend,
car
how
Kias?
much do the Kias pay?
I can check right now because I know exactly which one he has. See, there's different level of Kia too. You got your cheap little sedans, and then you have the ones that are a little bit higher quality, like their SUV or their crossovers, whatever they're called, basically minivans. Um, so the one he has is a 2021, and it started at 31,000.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
In America right now, this is just an example because I researched everything when I bought my car. You can go buy one of the easy models of a Honda Civic. Now it's got a little engine. It's not a sports car at all. It's just a little town hatchback. But it's sitting on top of that Honda chassis, however, and that beautiful drivetrain and drive system that
Yep.
they have. And you can pick one of those up for $23,000. It's a
Yep.
way better
Okay.
purchase.
So the one that you're thinking of most likely is the Rio, the cheap, the one that was always the super cheap one. The 2023 one is 17,000 to start
Yeah, but I
for a
mean, oh,
Kia.
that's nice for the Kia.
Yep.
But I'm just saying you can upgrade cheaply. You don't. I mean, some of these better companies, they have their high-end cars because of for reasons. But you can
Yep.
if you buy the smaller engines, less accoutrement. Um,
Yep.
you're still getting that chassis. It's sitting on the same damn chassis, right?
Yes. And oftentimes it's even if it's a lower what's the word I'm looking for? A lower oh my god, my brain cylinder engine. It's still
Oh, sure.
basically the same engine. They just have a different cylinder
Right,
size.
it's
So it's
just
similar.
tuned way down. But the
Yeah.
and it doesn't have turbos and all, excuse me, all
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it doesn't matter, dude.
So like there used to be, and they don't make them anymore, as far as I'm aware. Fords, because I'm in Ford country, right? Right in
Yeah,
Toledo
sure.
area, where this is Jeep and Ford country. This is where
Right.
you're going to find a lot of that. And so I actually, and this wasn't intentional. It's just what's around here. I own nothing but Fords. Uh, but the one car that I did buy intentionally was our car, our Ford Fusion.
Hmm.
That was from
It's not a
2013
bad car.
to when they stopped making them, those are phenomenal,
Yeah,
especially for
it's
their
a good
price
car.
range. And mine has a luxury package in it,
Yeah,
so it has everything. I mean, it literally has built-in heated seats, remote car start, everything.
yeah. I have
Um,
those in my car, and I've never touched it.
yeah, well, we use the remote start and the heated seats often, and the backup camera. But mainly, I don't use the heated seats. My wife does because she's cold all the time. Um,
Yeah, my wife
but
would.
the remote start is kind of handy though, especially in the winter. That's nice. That's a nice feature to have. Um, but yeah, no. My point is, these cars have been phased out in the American market. Like Ford, as far as I know, I don't think they make a car at all. Maybe besides, I think they make the Mustang still, but that's it.
Yeah, they
They don't
make
make
only
cars.
trucks. Yeah,
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 which is crazy to me because honestly, for I don't know about a decade ish, close, they were making the best American car for the price point. The
right.
the entry level family sedan, the
Yeah, Ford.
Fusion was awesome. I love the Fusion. I love my Fusion. It's beautiful. Like it doesn't look like your typical. It doesn't look like a family car at all. I have people all the time tell me, "Wow, that car's really nice," because it's the year that they made it was the last year that they put this because it has the luxury package, so it has these special running lights in the headlight, and it just looks amazing coming down the road.
Hmm.
Um, so my point is though, very recently you could get a very good, lower level, mid level family car sedan
Yeah.
in America, made by an American company, and they were made, I believe, in Detroit. They were made. Part of them were made in Mexico, and part of it was made in Detroit.
Hmm.
Um, and that's all gone. The market has changed so much in the last few years that it's become like I remember just a few years ago, right before this happened, is when we bought this car because we bought it with under 20,000 miles on it, so we bought it used because I don't like buying new cars in America. It's a scam. Don't do it
No, in
unless you got money
America,
you
buy
don't care
used.
about. Yeah,
Yeah,
buy one that's just out of lease. That's what you should do.
yeah, what have you?
That's what
Yeah,
I did.
yeah, definitely in America, that you
Yeah.
should buy used. Yeah.
Yep. But anyway, so we went to the lot to get because it was time to get. Basically, it was just time. Our car was old and a little beat up, and it was time. We had a little bit of extra money, so we could put a down payment. And this was right before the 2021 crunch, where everything like doubled when it comes to cars in America, and they couldn't sell a car because it was in 2020 and everybody was COVID afraid, so they couldn't sell. They you would have thought we were the king and queen of Sheba walking into that dealership. They were so excited to see people because they just couldn't sell a car. So we ended up getting our car luxury package, 2017, and this was in 2020, 2017 model, under 30,000 miles on it, and we got it for basically nothing. My car payment's only like $200 a month because they needed sales. They didn't care. They were like, "Yep, yep, yep." Anything we wanted, they would have gave us. They would have probably given it to us for cheaper if I would have asked for it. But I was like, "Nah, that's a perfectly good price. That's fine." Um, but my point is, that's all gone largely because of the COVID stuff. After COVID, these car companies in a lot of industries, to be honest, just completely stopped caring. They don't care about customer service like they did before COVID.
Well,
It's
their government
shocking.
doesn't care, so why should they?
Yeah, it's
Um,
true.
yeah, I mean that's a whole freaking monkey box to open into. Um, for sure. But yeah, no, if you're there, do better than a Kia. Fuck's sake,
Yeah,
dude. Anyway, let me continue with my emoting here on computers, if you don't mind.
go ahead.
But this is a personal indulgence. This is one thing I want to talk about today is the Intel Arc. Now, the GPUs. Now, for a long time, it's basically just been AMD and NVIDIA banging at each other. And for a long time, it was just NVIDIA, right? As far as the GPU market. Now, keep in mind, until recently, most people didn't have a GPU in their computer, right? The average person just goes off the chipset, right? Or something built into the motherboard. But it's become to a point now, if you want to play any kind of serious game, you need a graphics card now, right?
Yeah,
What these companies do is they will build the actual graphics card, which is just a little chip, not so different in size from your CPU chip, to be honest with you. Uh, and other companies will, Asus is a good example, will buy those cards and then build their own casing and interaction, and they'll build all the stuff around it, and then sell it. So it's still basically NVIDIA and AMD, but they're different form factors, and some are better put together than others, et cetera, et cetera. Now, there were a couple other little companies. There's a couple of Chinese ones, which we won't mention at all. Um, but Intel decided, because Intel is the king of CPUs, right? Decided, well, frick that, we're going to get into the market. So now they're making GPUs. Now it launched horribly, laughably. But in the past year or so, they have been absolutely coming on like gangbusters, dude. And they're not making it. They've not even the actual GPU chip. It's just got their name on it, and I'm assuming their techs are behind it. But this company right here, Taiwan Semi, what's it again? It's a semiconductor manufacturing company. It's not a very interesting name, but once again, another Taiwanese company are the ones making these, and they're going to make them into the future. Like I said, they had a horrible launch, but it's really coming on. And I am elated because having another serious player in the GPU market will bring the prices down. Because one of the things about the new Ryzen series and or excuse me, not Ryzen, the AMD series and NVIDIA 40 series that just came out this year, um, ridiculous price, over $2,000 for a GPU, dude. Right?
Oof.
Now, because of they had got such a huge pushback from the market, they have been dropping in price this whole year. They just keep dropping, 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 which is a good thing. But Intel's Arc is going to push it down even more. Competition is a good thing, and they're serious. They really want this thing to work properly. They're after it.
Mm.
I just wanted to mention the fact that there is another player in the game, and although you probably initially heard, "Oh, it sucks," well, you were right, but they're improving. And when they come out with their next series, it's going to get better and better. And this is only a good thing for the computer market, because, like, the whole theme of today is this: these engines, like Unreal Engine 5 and some of the other ones that other companies are building their own engines, right? And we won't talk about the craziness of Kojima, okay? Because he's we don't want to talk about it. He's a crazy man, okay? But
Yeah.
they're all moving in this direction. These new engines are going to push anybody who wants to play a game into having to buy a GPU.
Yep.
It's going to change the market. And like I said, the cost of those things and the cost of a computer to be able to properly play a game these days, especially the new ones that are coming, I just think the normies are going to have a hard time biting that, but taking a chunk out of that, dude. So this is encouraging because it will bring that down. Because I'm going to talk about here in a second what it takes to build a computer. And I'll come back to this later. So let's look at my little list here of how. Now I'm not going to cover peripherals, keyboards. There's all kind of things to do to buy. If in this day and age you're not buying a mechanical keyboard, don't stop talking to me. Just go away. Okay. Um, monitors doesn't really matter, but you can go spend some money and get a 4K proper. Monitors actually become way more sophisticated than they used to be. They're actually
Yep.
syncing with the computers. It's quite impressive. You could do a whole show just talking about what they're doing with monitors now. But honestly, you just go buy a cheapio, some cheap thing. You're good. And some cheap ass mouse. You don't need to go spend the money that some of us do. Don't tell the wife.
Mm.
Speakers. Well, I'm not going to talk about peripherals because, in all honesty, it doesn't matter. You can go spend very cheap money and function. But I would suggest that if you are going to buy in the market for a new keyboard, please buy one of the new mechanicals. um, uh, it's it's ridiculously better. It's so much better. Not only does it feel better, they're clean. You don't get any of that kind of binding you get or stickiness. It doesn't happen. You also they're completely programmable. And I got a Logical Carbon sitting here in front of me, and it's not cheap, but I mean, what I spent $150, something like that, 130 bucks. It's not that bad, right? Go get a mechanical one. So that's all I'm going to say about peripherals. So aside from that, if you're going to build a computer, whether you do it yourself or just let the people at the store, what's that company, that really cool store you guys have in Japan? We got a company
Um,
called Applied. It's the same thing.
oh, we just looked it up the other week too. Now I can't
Yeah, I
remember
can't
what it's
remember the
called.
name of it, but it's really cool company.
Blast it all. Now I'm gonna have to look it up. Hang on.
Well, they got a couple of dozen locations around America. Around America, it's an amazing store. It's absolutely stunning for a computer person. It's Shangri-La. He's looking it up.
I am in fact looking it up. Where is it? It's not Best Buy. Not
No, no, no,
no
no,
no no
no, no,
no
no.
no.
I'm talking about an actual serious computer. You go to Best Buy to buy something that someone else built as cheaply as possible to get as much money out of you
Micro
as
Center.
possible. Micro Center.
Micro.
Micro Center, yeah.
That's
So you go down to your local nearby micro center or some equivalent. Don't go to frickin' Best Buy if you're going to buy a computer, please. Please.
mm,
You're going to save just by going to one of these proper gaming centers because Best Buy sells everything, right? But you want to buy a computer, go to a specialty place. You're going to save 20-40% on your purchase, dude, and you're going to get a
yeah
better quality product in the end. But anyway, let's talk about it. So, what do you need? First thing you need is a case. Okay.
yep.
Now, that sounds simple, but it's
Yeah.
not.
No no. It's in fact the third most important thing you're gonna get.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
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 It's pretty important.
And there, as you see here, they're not too pricey, but do some research into it because these, what are you going to have? What kind of CPU you putting in? Like I have the i9, right? And you need serious ventilation and you need serious ability to cool that CPU. You really, really do, right? And these cases often come with fans built in. A lot of times people replace them anyway. But you're looking at ATX. ATX is the standard size. There are mini and micro, but they also are having larger sizes where they're wider than they are. Some of them are taller as well. But ATX is
Hmm.
standard. I got a standard ATX sitting right in front of me. It's a great thing. But it's more than because I would challenge you to build your own computer. It's not hard, guys, and I'll get to the
No.
most hard point here in a minute. But you can be frugal, but what you need to make sure with your case is it solidly built, meaning if you kind of bend it this way or the other, does it bend? That's not good. Don't do that, right? Because
Mm,
you're going to have a motherboard bound to that, and if you can bend it, then that means the motherboard's bending. You don't you don't no one does you don't do that. Okay, anyway,
no, it's
but
not wise.
it's not wise. But these cases come with so many options of where you could put things. There's a lot of adjustment because, like, I just built mine, and I had to move fans as far to the frickin' left as I could. I was squeezing everything in, and it's working. Everything's functioning just fine. My heat, I haven't seen anything over 56 degrees, so
Nice.
good. Um, so it worked, but you want a case that gives you versatility because depending what you're buying, you might need a little shift to the right here. Might need a quarter inch there, right? So get a case that is very versatile and look into who does good job. Now, Corsair is a killer company in the enthusiast market, so Corsair is usually a fair thing. There's another company if they have here. I can never remember it because it's like an Asian company, which normally I'd stay away from. I don't see them here. Um, Starts with an L. Someone help me out. Damn it.
Um. Oh, see.
Those are very popular right now, and I understand why. I actually watched a show on it. Them breaking it. No, this isn't it. Um, I can't remember the name. But anyway, take some time on this. Don't just brush over this, man. Seriously,
Yep.
think about getting a case that does what you need. You're spending a lot of money. Research it, right? But a case is an important part of your purchase. It's not just a throwaway line. There are many things inside. How are you going to get your cables? What kind of cable management aspects does it have? Does it have enough room for all the parts you're going to try to squeeze in it? It's a serious thing. So you need a case, right? Next thing, you need a motherboard. Motherboard lets everything communicate, right?
Hmm.
Now, you can spend stupid amount of monies on a motherboard if you really want to. I just spent $600 or more, over $600 on my motherboard. But it's also an absolute banger, and we're looking at it right there. The Asus ROG Strix Z790E, baby. Oh, mm. It gives you and a motherboard is important, right? Because it's communicating everything. But the motherboard is also where your chipset is, which is rather important because everything's communicating off of it. All the pathways. It holds a lot of your modern storage in the M.2 SSDs, right? You can still do SATA drives. I still have two sitting in this computer, but honestly, move away from it if you can. There's just so many things a motherboard does. A better motherboard means a better computer. A lot of people often ignore this, thinking, "Oh, the CPU and GPU are the only thing that matters." No, these matter. Now, if you get
Hmm.
some of the B series, they're cheap, much cheaper, but they're still good quality. And a lot of things with motherboards is very interesting to me. You can get a motherboard that's like $100, right? $120, or maybe even under $100. But in that same price range, you'll have a, a really good, solid economy motherboard sitting next to a bunch of Chinese shit that will ruin your day, ruin your day for the same cost. So it's another thing that really needs to be researched. But a motherboard's very important. It's not like it used to be. Things have changed, Thundero.
It's true.
Yeah.
They
But
have, in fact.
I absolutely adore this motherboard. It makes me happy. I stare at it at night.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Uh, that was the thing that was the biggest hang up for me when I built my first one. Is most of the stuff is plug and play, but
Hmm.
the real hang up you're going to find is the motherboard. And what that means is some things will not plug into some motherboards, and some things will not work in some motherboards, especially like with the
Oh yeah,
chipset stuff.
that's true. That
Um,
is true.
and
Yeah.
some, even to some degree, certain like hard drives won't work with this motherboard or that motherboard. Obviously, RAM matters based on your RAM slots. Like there are some things you have to figure out, but there are sites out there, like websites out there, where you can go and quite literally put everything in, and it'll tell you if it'll work. Like
It
it won't
will.
tell you
Yeah.
necessarily if it'll work perfectly because it might not. There might be
Go
issues here or
away.
there, but it'll at least tell you that it'll function for the most part.
Well,
Because one of the weird things about PC gaming, and obviously consoles have it too, but they hammer it out, is there's bottlenecks
yeah, no, that's the
where
problem.
this thing's
The
faster than
GPU, it's
this thing.
usually GPUs doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this thing's faster than this thing, so it's not talking to this other thing as fast
Yeah.
as it needs to, and it'll cause you to lose some frame rate.
Yeah.
But very rarely is it severe. Like most people exaggerate how, this big 30% bottleneck. No, you didn't. Shut up. Get out of here. You did
Yeah,
not.
no,
Calm
that's
down.
probably not true. It is something to consider though, because depending
Yeah.
on the CPU you buy, there are a set of GPUs that perfectly marry to it.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't need the spend the best and the best of best. You don't. Like I said, right now, one of the cheaper Intel CPUs, the i5, the iCore 5 core, what the hell they call it, the i5.
Hmm.
It's way cheaper than what I paid, right? But
Yep.
it works really well. But if you have to pair it with the right GPU, right? It's very
Right.
important. They need to match each other. They really, really do. But anyway, if you look at the board, I got a kind of blown up version over here. That little
Mhm.
section in the middle with the shiny metal, that is where the CPU goes. That's the most difficult part. It's not. You just lift that little lever. You put the CPU in gently, gently. Don't force anything when you're building a computer. If it doesn't go in, look at what you're doing because you're doing something wrong. Anyway, you put
Mm.
the CPU in there, you're good. It's not hard, right? But all these things right to the right of the CPU is where you put your RAM.
Yep.
Normally, you're going to probably get two 16 gig sticks and end up with 32 gigs for your RAM. I'm actually, what I use the my I use the I use the Trident Z5s in my which are really good. But you can get away with cheaper stuff. But don't put them right next to each other. Skip a gap unless you're going to put all four in, because that's four slots. Skip a gap. Leave a gap between it. Because there's some of those things where you get confusion. You get a bunch of M.2 SSD ports sitting here. You got your GPU connector, and this can handle multi faced GPUs as well, that offer you a lot of input output area, right? And all the
Mhm.
little pins you see on the bottom and on the sides, those are for various things inside your computer to plug into, because everything plugs in the motherboard and it communicates. So, your GPU, your CPU, of course, it goes right there in the center, but all your fans and all the communications for USBs and all that kind of stuff. That's what all these are. You plug it internally, and then it has external things for you to just plug in yourself. But take some time. This is a Wi-Fi 6 version, which I don't really need. I didn't buy it for that. I bought it for other reasons. But um, uh, uh, you know, the Wi-Fi works really, really well. But when you see Wi-Fi with a motherboard, this is what it really means. You're not going to be able to say, "Oh, okay, I don't need to buy a router or a LAN. I can just use the computer to run my phone in the house off of." No, you can't. That's not what it does. What the Wi-Fi in a motherboard is doing is allowing to put your computer anywhere in the house you want and not be next to the Ether cable, which is going into your router. That's
Mhm.
what it does. Okay, so don't confuse that. I'm not even using that. See the little antenna? I'm not even using it because I haven't Ether plugged directly into the computer. I don't need it.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yep.
so motherboards, right? Important purchase. Here we're looking at a test of all the various CPUs that are available, which you need to buy, right? Now, these days, you need to think about cooling, which I don't have on this list, but some of these CPUs require water cooling. So that's a ninth, because I have 8 things here. But I kind of threw that into peripheral, although it is important. So you have to do some kind of cooling with some of these CPUs these days. They're pretty serious. But as you see up the top, you got Eric's favorite little AMD stuff, Ryzen CPUs. And
Yep.
they're fine, but I'll stick with my Intel. Thank you very much. And especially if you're
Yep.
looking at this testing, what is the difference? I am off 12 FPS. I'm 12 FPS behind the Ryzen 9.
Jeez.
Not
12 whole
much,
FPS.
not much.
12 whole FPS. That's a night and day difference, Chester. What do you mean?
Well, right.
Oh, it's kind of crazy when you start to get into actually get into PC gaming. How some people are so autistic about that sort of stuff. So
Yeah,
like you'll have
they're
people
having fun. It's a
who
hobby.
will get to the point where they're like, I can't even play. They'll be, I have to be at 120 frames or whatever. Oh, it's 110. I can't play that. Like, come on, bro. Calm down. You're all right. First of all, that many frames, your eyes really can't tell the difference between.
Right.
Calm down.
And it
Um,
used to be 60. We get 60 FPS. We're like, ooh, we're cooking now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. My monitor is a 200 hertz monitor that I have here. That my wife bought me for my birthday a
It's
few
nice.
years ago, and so I can pump 200 frames a second if I want to. But there's just no reason to. Like I can't. Your eyes can't see that. They don't. Your eyes don't even operate at that speed. So there's no point of going that fast. The reason why 60 was like the goal is because that's pretty much where you're gonna max out, especially if you're playing a fast paced game. And what I mean by max out, I mean your physical limitations. Your actual eyeballs are
Yeah.
probably only going to process 60 frames per second.
Right.
So
And
some
more is
people can
just
do
kind of getting
more,
rid of the
whatever.
herky jerky stuff, right?
Right, you're just smoothing it out at that point.
Yeah.
So, and like most games, I don't put it because you can change how many hertz it refreshes at. I don't almost never put it on 200.
Well,
One, there's no real reason to, and two, it'll burn your monitor out faster. So if you leave
it
it a
will.
little
That's
lower,
true.
you get a little more life out of it.
Well, and the thing with especially the kind of games you're talking about that require, serious FPS. Um,
Mm-hmm.
these kind of games, the esports games, the FPS, the first person shooter games, those
Yep.
guys who play that, they turn their settings as low as they can get it.
If they can go in the files and lower it even more,
They
they will.
will. Yeah,
They turn
seriously.
everything off.
So
Everything.
it really doesn't matter at all,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
these guys
The
are
only thing that matters
running
to them
around
is
with
refreshing.
giant 4 polygon,
Yeah.
characters probably. I mean,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Just so they have that, because you don't want to. And it does suck if you're actually trying to play one of those games, like I say, you're playing like CS:GO or Halo or Call of Duty or whatever, and that matters. Those frames actually matter. It does suck when you feel like you're losing because of hardware limitations, right?
Yeah,
Like, you know how people will blame lag a lot when they, in fair play, sometimes it is lag, but it sucks. That feeling sucks if it's completely out of your control. So I understand why, if you're going to make it, you're going to make this into a serious hobby, why you would push like that. It's just I also find it kind of hilarious how there are people who play other types of games that absolutely don't require that level of precision, and yet they demand to have that level of precision for some reason, or the games it's just unplayable. I'm like, that's just silliness. But it's probably because I grew up playing consoles, and
hmm
consoles suck. So
yeah, they do suck. Yeah,
compared to computers, so I'm a lot more forgiving of it. Like I have a PS5 here, and I can get 60 frames out of most PS5 games, no
sure.
problem, even playing on PS5. But that's new. That's very new. In fact, it's pretty much just with the PS5 generation where that was pretty normal to get that many frames out of a console. Usually it was 30. I even remember some console games being 20 frames a second where you were playing at. And I couldn't imagine playing at that now, because that you can see. When it gets that low, you can really start to see the difference. But honestly, for most people, anything but above 70 or 80, you can't see the difference. You just can't. If anything, it's a little bit less jerky here or there, or if things start getting real hectic, it's a little bit smoother. But for most of the stuff you're doing, you aren't going to notice it once you're actually playing the game. But
Right. Yeah. No, that's true. So some of this is overkill, and I understand that.
yeah,
But
but it's future proof too. See, because if you
that
overkill
helps.
now, in 5 years when everything's different already, and probably less than that, to be honest, the way it's going, uh, you have a little bit extra padding, right? You have a little
Yeah.
bit extra. Like I bought my computer 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, and I'm already at the point where, like, man, I might have to get a new. I might have to get a new CPU or a GPU soon, because,
Yeah.
geez,
That's why
they just jumping, just hurdle after hurdle
they
after
are.
hurdle lately.
Well, that's why I bought the i9 was for future thoughts. And I'm waiting to the 50 series before I upgrade my GPU. But
Yeah,
luckily, that 1080 Ti that I bought, the GTX, um, it was just it's one of the best GPUs ever made ever.
yeah, it's
It's
really good.
7 years ago, but so what? It's just kicks ridiculous ass. So I am not bottlenecking, even though I'm using an i9 with a 1080 Ti. Go
What's
figure
crazy
that.
is most of the 10 series of those, all of them, whether it's the 50, the 60, the 70, all of them were actually really good. Like the 1050 and the 1050 Ti
Yeah,
was like the
10
budget
series was.
card
The 30
for
series was
a
good
decade.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
But
the middle M20 series that I think was kind of
oh, that sucked
just
balls, dude.
wasn't, yeah, it
But the
wasn't good.
30 series was great, but the problem was that was during the
Oh,
Bitcoin thing, and you couldn't
yeah,
get one because they were buying them to do these Bitcoin farms. You couldn't get one,
right.
right?
COVID and Bitcoin made it impossible. Because remember, the 30 series was supposed to be a revolution. They originally said they were going to price those in at half of what their current cards were, and they
Right.
did. But you couldn't get them. You
Nope.
couldn't buy them.
Couldn't.
They were gone immediately.
Yeah.
And now they come out with the newer series, and they've gone way back up again, which is a shame because I had been waiting for the reason why I even got the one that I have. I have a 30 in mind. 30, 70, or 80, I think. But the reason why that happened is because I was waiting. I was waiting for that 30 series because they said it was going to be way cheaper, and they were going to be for me. I had a 1050 Ti in my old computer. It was going to be a massive upgrade
Oh yeah.
comparatively,
Yeah. I
and
think
cheap
the
as
50 will
hell
be.
comparatively.
I have a
And
feeling.
it just didn't happen because of COVID.
Well,
It just
because
didn't happen.
this 40
And
series
and
is lame.
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
So, the odd series seems to be better. We'll see
yep.
because Nvidia has been making noise that they're going to get out of the top end gaming GPU business, and I don't understand that. That's why I get it with because the whole AI and they're all excited about their Grace Hopper mega AI server freaking room size computer. They're all excited about it, but whatever. Um, Alan, a mechanical keyboard um, is very different than the keyboard most people would use. The action, the feel, how it operates, the speed. Um,
It's more tactile.
it's much more tactile and it's much quicker and it's completely programmable. So
Yeah.
I have a software that allows me to monitor everything about my computer. It also picks up uh, the keyboard and the mouse and I can completely program anything I want. I could turn this into a left-handed keyboard if I wished. All the caps come off, and you can buy special caps if you like, if you're that into it. But you can rearrange this keyboard both physically and digitally. They're very, very handy. You know how you have people with mouses that they program? Well,
Oh
now
yeah, mine's like that. I can
there's
program mine.
keyboards. Oh yeah, sure. I got a lot.
Mhm.
My peripheral is logical. So
My so I have been using basically the same. It's just a cheaper one, but I've been using the same one because it's one of the best ones I found. Mouses is that's a it's an MMO mouse. It's got all the buttons on the side, that
right,
whole
sure.
deal. And I've been using this same one through two different iterations, not two different iterations, but two different like generations of it, basically. Um, and what happened was my last one that I had, the middle mouse button, because I use it a lot, especially when I'm playing MMOs, I'll use that as my auto run, where you just
Right,
press down middle mouse and just run.
sure.
And it just wore out and it stopped working. But it has a fire, what they call the fire button, on the side here, and I just switched it over to that. And I got so used to it, just using it like that for so long, that now I do it to every mouse I own. I make that my auto move or my. If it's something where I know it's you press it and forget it type situation, I'll put it on that, right? So like an
Right.
auto move or whatever it is, an automation, some sort of automated thing, I'll put it on that. And that's just something you can do with a lot of gaming mice and mechanical keyboards. You can do it with a regular keyboard. It's just a lot more work. You have to
Yeah.
actually reprogram it. Whereas a mechanical one, you just set it. You can get it to do whatever you want it to do. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, it's way easier. Like my auto run, for instance, because I'm an MMO guy as well. I use
Mhm.
my back left thumb, the back left thumb spot for it.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, same thing. It's
Mhm.
just that's more whatever's more comfortable, and that's the great thing. What is more comfortable? And the thing is,
Yep.
this thing's got uh, this keyboard's got weight. I mean, serious weight to it. It feels
Yep.
good. It's all like steely glass. Oh my God, it's just like
It's
gorgeous.
crazy how at some point somebody who wasn't just like a because there's different types of nerds, as we know, right? So you have your like power nerds who only care about it being. They don't care what it looks like. They just want it to go fast,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah.
And that's who was making this stuff for computers for
That could be
years
a
and
guy
years
named
and years.
Ben. There might be a Ben guy named
Yeah, yeah. And then nowadays we have, and it's probably because more women are in the space. If we're being honest, we have a lot more aesthetic options. So,
Ben. Oh
like
yeah.
my keyboard here, I can do all kinds of stuff with it. I can make it flash, change colors. I can when
Oh
I
yeah.
press it, I can make it like do a little pattern. I don't do any of that because I don't care, but I could. The options there. I can do the same thing with my mouse. I can do the same thing with the lights in my computer. I don't have any desire to do any of that, but the options there, and in a lot of stuff, it's just there now. Like that's
Yeah.
just how you. Everything's like it's hard to find. Like if you want to just go find a cheap keyboard, even the cheapos have lights in them now because
True.
it's just so much more aesthetically pleasing, and it's also easier if you don't have good lighting in your room to have a lighted up keyboard because then you can see what you're doing. If
That's
you
true.
know you're not very
That
yeah,
is
it's just
very
nice to
handy.
have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean, honestly, you can get crazy expensive with everything I'm talking about here. But
yeah,
Logical is very reasonable priced. They're a good company. I love the Carbon series. It really is nice. Like I said, $120 or so, and you got yourself. You'll thank yourself. It's so much better, dude. Anyway, let's
yeah.
move on. GPUs, uh, RAM. Now, RAM is a very simple thing. You have your own storage to hold your own data that you have, games, photographs, videos, whatever. Um, but the CPU is running its calculator. It's running calculations at ridiculously billions of solutions a second, right? So occasionally, in some of these logarithms, it needs to put it aside for a microsecond. I mean, an incredibly small fraction of a second, so
Hmm.
that it can do other things, and then it brings it back in. Right? It's like a guy on the running on the board a physics equation. Each one of those little symbols is representing enormous math. It's just much quicker and easier to see when you have a few symbols on the board instead of literal book of math that would require to actually see it on the board. You couldn't do it on one board, right? So the RAM, that's what it does. It is the CPU's place to hold shit. So the bigger and the faster it is, the faster and more the CPU can do. So it's important. As you see, it's not crazy expensive, right?
Yeah.
And they come with RGB now too. Like I said, mine's all lit up. But
Yep.
Corsair is a great company. There are plenty of other companies, but you have some that aren't fancy, like this Vengeance right here. They're not horribly expensive, but you do want to keep in mind when you're buying RAM and your motherboard as well. Um, DDR4, which is kind of the old generation of motherboards and RAMs, speeds and performance, is dead. They won't be making any more of it. Now, I'm not saying you
Yep.
can't go and get yourself a nice Z690 motherboard and equivalent DDR5 RAM DIMMs. You can, but just keep in mind you're a generation behind day one. And
Hmm.
for one of the cheaper parts of the purchase, maybe you shouldn't do that, right?
Well, it's also the craziest thing about the RAM for me, and I got lucky when I built my last computer. RAM was basically on sale everywhere. It was super cheap for
Yeah,
whatever. I don't
it's
remember
really
why,
cheap.
but it was super, super, super cheap. Like I want to say 32 gigs worth, and it wasn't even $100. I know it wasn't. I remember it. So it was on a big time discount. And it was four when I built this one. Was like that was the new hotness was four.
Yeah,
When I built that one, and RAM is one of the things that it's not it is super important as far as like the quality, and it's also not. And the reason why that is it just simply depends on everything around it. RAM isn't unless you get something defective, it's gonna work. It's
yeah, sure.
gonna do the job at whatever price point you buy it at. But there's a difference between doing the job and doing the job.
Yeah,
even if you buy the same size and the same what is it, watts, I think is how they do it,
hmm,
the same power, there's just a slight difference. If you buy the knockoff one, you will eventually notice it. You
you
will
will.
notice things load a little bit slower, and it continues to bog down, or you'll have RAM bottlenecks where all of a sudden you're just out of memory for some reason because the RAM isn't cleaning itself out like it's supposed to, as fast as it's supposed to, and that just becomes more and more of a problem. Now you don't have to go crazy on it because RAM's so cheap that if you do start to have issues and you're just like, screw it, I'll just get another stick. That works too if you got the money. But I typically try to get ones that are very, very well received and reviewed by the community, because there's one thing about the computer nerd community: they talk to each other a
They do.
lot. They don't. In fact,
They
they
do.
don't shut up about
I
it.
mean,
You can
line.
find reviews unend for everything. So,
Well, you saw Linus, LLT. He's the big boy in the computer world.
yep.
He's PewDiePie is what he is in the computer world. Crash and burn hardcore, dude. Gamer
Yes.
Nexus went at him. Anyway, yeah, they
Yep.
do. They do communicate. But
They,
you can go with a Crucial here.
yep.
It's cheap. And it's effective. Its DDR5 is going to be a little bit more expensive. I keep mentioning Corsair because they're a good middle of the road, very reliable company. Corsair.
Yes.
Um,
They're the Ford, if you will, right?
yeah,
They're just hitting that mark over and over again, nice in the middle. They're not blowing anybody's socks off, but they're
they're
doing
really
the job.
solid.
And,
Yeah, doing a good job.
yep.
Corsair is good. You can go with more impressive stuff, but my real suggestion is because everything is moving on a DDR5. It's not like you need it this second, but everything has moved on. Therefore, what you just make sure your motherboard and your RAM is DDR5. That's all, right?
Yep.
And you can pick up Z690s boards from many companies that are running DDR5 right now. You can.
Hmm.
So just keep that in mind. That's just a suggestion because if you stick with the DDR4, you're behind the eight ball from a new purchase. I just wouldn't do that. Many of the other things we're talking about today, you can make various optional choices, but I would make sure that my motherboard and my RAM was DDR5. You should.
Yep.
Anyway, so RAM, need that. Um, Storage, you need that.
Storage is another one. You need it, but it's another one. It's one of those ones where if you need to cut a little bit of money off, you can do it here. Because yeah, you can get to the higher end stuff and it will work better, but most likely for most users, you won't notice a major difference. The only thing you might notice is a little bit of boot time difference depending on which kind of drive you get.
A
But
lot.
the SSDs, yeah, the SSDs are they're just nice. And the newer ones, I can't whatever they're called, they're just nicer. Like
They
my
are.
computer, it's just instantaneous. Basically, I press the button, I wait a couple seconds, and bam, we're there. And it's just getting faster. It's just going to keep getting faster and faster, which is good. They finally broke through because they were bottlenecked there
They were.
for a long time. Write speed was really bottlenecked, and they seem to have, again, this, like I said earlier, jumped that hurdle. There's a lot of hurdles that had been slowing down gaming for about a decade, especially, and just CPUs in general, computers in general. And they've seemingly started to jump a lot of those hurdles in the last couple of years.
Mhm.
Um, and that's good, but also terrible because that means we're going to hit one of those eras where you just can't keep up. Things are just going to keep changing and going. Like look at AI. Look how much that's changed just in this year. Like it's crazy. Um, but my overall point is, when it comes to storage, what I always recommend is get more than you think you need and then get a little bit more.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
the
You got to pace
games
yourself.
keep getting bigger.
Especially
They
your
keep getting
C
bigger.
drive. Especially your
Yes.
C drive. Because the thing is, you can put your Steam library and you put all your games on your big, huge drive. You can do that.
Yep.
But keep
Even
in
a hard
mind,
disk if you want.
right. Well, don't be mean. Um, uh, but the thing is with your C drive, it's constantly getting clogged all the time because I know all
Yep.
of you see these little things says Windows updated.
Oh God, it's ridiculous.
Windows is a freaking clog hog, dude, and
Yep.
it will clog your C drive. And there's nothing you can do about it. Now you can jump over to an Atlas OS or Linux if you like, but honestly, that's desperate measures, right?
Yep.
And these days you can clone your drive and not miss a beat. You can do that. I did it, and I was very pleased with myself, Thundero.
That's good.
I was pleased. But uh, I this is an area I would spend a little more money in my opinion, because how quickly you're accessing your memory can mean a lot as far as when you're playing a game or you're trying to do some kind of word processing or especially a lot of the artists we have in our group, if you're doing rendering and various stuff with art, that you want this to be super fast. Now for
Hmm.
my just kind of general storage, I have a 2 terabytes, which doesn't sound a lot because I have another 2 terabytes in SATA drive stuff, but
Hmm.
that's really archival. But I got myself I went with a Samsung 970 Evo Plus, which is a
Hmm.
pretty solid middle of the road, 3,500 megabytes a second.
Nice.
Very nice. But that's my backup. That's my kind of main storage. My C drive, my main drive. I went with the WD Black here, but I went with a much bigger version, not this little one. I this one right here, 7,300 megabytes a second.
Yeah, it's crazy fast. Crazy fast.
You can hear
Um.
it.
Yep. And I have one of those too. One of these what are they even called? I can't remember what they're called, but I have that style as well. The PCIe. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Um. I have one of those as well. That's what I use my C drive on. I think it's only 500 gig, but all I have on it are. I usually only keep one game on it. That's the game I'm playing currently because with Steam you can just change it around. It's not a big deal. And then I just keep the Windows on it. It's just the boot drive. And the only time I put a game on it is if it's a game that requires a lot of memory, like an open world game or whatever. It requires a lot of constant writing,
I have
or
one
pulling
game
from
on
the
it.
drive.
Well, two.
Yeah,
I have my City Skylines and my Sims on it. And
yeah.
what a freaking difference, dude.
It's
What
night
a
and day
difference.
difference. Yeah,
Now,
so
I
much
built
faster.
it is night day. I built myself a pretty serious computer. But I'm in a way I'm kind of glad Ben's not here because he would laugh with his American government money at me.
Damn.
It pays to work for the devil. It
It
pays.
does.
He,
It
he
does.
does. He
I
does.
don't
The
even
checks
want to
clear.
imagine what kind of $50,000 computer he's working on. I can't. Seriously. You know he is.
50. Now you're insulting him.
It might be quite more, yeah. It's I mean, shit. I've seen $1 million server computers, dude.
Yeah, they exist. They
Yeah, they
do
do.
exist.
Um,
Um,
you know,
but when it comes to storage, if you're one of these people who doesn't use a lot, meaning you're not gaming on it, or you have a lot of, like, say, you have a lot of pictures or something. Maybe you're
yeah,
a
it
picture
takes up
person. You take a lot of
space quick,
pictures.
man.
All that stuff takes up space quick. So that's when I recommend, personally, you just get a hard disk for that. The
You
stuff
can,
that's just going to be long
yeah.
form storage, a
Photos,
hard disk
books,
is
yeah,
fine.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
just chill that out over. Maybe even movies if you're not using them a lot, like it's just for storage. If it's just for storage, something you're not going to access on a regular basis, but you want to keep, whatever it is, something, it could be anything. That's when
There
a
he
hard disk is
is.
fine. And the reason a hard disk is actually probably better, strictly because it'll last longer. The more the SSDs and especially these PCIs or PCIes, the more you write on those, do hard disks too, but they can take more. The faster they burn out, and they're much harder to recover than a disk because a disk is very physical. Da da da
That's
da.
true. And they have a
So that's why I recommend.
expiration date as well. SSD has an
Yes.
expiration date. It's true. Um,
Yep.
I,
If you're archiving stuff, save it on there. One of the other things you can do if it's something you really want to keep, this is something I do, is I have a private Discord server. I put it on there. That way I can access it from anywhere. I can access it from my phone, depending on what it is. Like if it's, I don't know, something I'm writing, or if it's something I need to look up, or something, whatever. There's a lot of ways, especially nowadays, thanks to the internet, and cloud servers and stuff. You can put it on Google Drive if you want. Um, there's a lot of ways to archive stuff, and I recommend anything you find crucial that you don't want to lose. It could be anything, personal or professional, whatever. Multiple backups, at least one hard backup, like on a disc,
Oh,
and
sure.
then multiple digital backups in the ether is what I
Well,
recommend personally.
USB sticks have gotten so large and fast now. They get
Yeah,
USB 4. I got like, I don't know how many damn USB 4 slots sitting on this. I don't own a USB 4 thing. Whatever.
yeah,
Um, they getting so big and fast now. You can actually do your boot drives off of a freaking stick, dude.
yep,
It's ridiculous, but you can. Anyway,
yep.
faster is better, and this is another place. You can get away with a little bit cheaper CPU, a little bit cheaper GPU, and be able to do lots of stuff. This is maybe an area that saved money would be smart to spend in, because this is how quick you're interacting with things that you have on your computer, which is everything on your computer. The your personal storage and your CPU's personal storage. These two things are kind of important, and of course that also dictates that I really believe. And if you go with one of the B series or one of the cheaper ones, go with DDR5. The market has moved. Don't buy DDR4. It's done. You might not find a lot of use for it today, but a year from now, 2 years from now, you will. You'll feel the
Hmm.
pain. But anyway, so there we go. Storage, right? Next, you need a power supply. There are plenty of good companies that make these. Um, Depending on, just do the research and get whatever's required by your system. A lot of these are getting over 1,000 in their power now. And
Yep,
I've seen 1,600 now. Now you have to understand, when we're talking about 1,600 here. Um, you do realize that that is the limit of your outlet in your house.
yeah. You're
Meaning,
blowing it out. Let it go
you
any higher.
can't, it doesn't deliver more than that. So I
Yep,
don't know why they've gotten so close to that line, because that's going to be a problem. You can't tell me that you're drawing the maximum amount, and that's the reserve amount, because in America you're running at 110, right? And
usually, yeah.
so that's 1,100, right?
Right.
And that there's a safety zone, 500 of a safety zone. A lot of these battery supplies are into the reserve all the way to the absolute ultimate apex threshold. I can't. I just don't know how long that's going to be viable. It seems crazy to me. But yet, uh, honestly, with most systems that any of us would build, 1,000 is going to do you just fine, dude.
Yeah, you probably don't even need that much.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're doing. Like most people, because most people, even me, I
Oh,
don't.
watts, by the way. I'm sorry. Did I not?
Yes, except for a few games, I don't ever push it that high, and just because I don't need to. Like it doesn't. Most of the time, when you really are pushing power like that, you're not going to really notice fidelity wise. You might a little bit, but
No.
not. It's
It's
not worth it. Is my point.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
not.
not worth
And there's gold and platinum. I think there's a titanium levels as well. But honestly, just get yourself whatever your system requires, bronze or higher,
it.
because
And this is
they have
where
a
one of
rating system.
those like PC parts pickers, the one over here that I've used, one of a site like that where it'll tell you what you need,
Yeah,
what your
yeah,
minimum
yeah, yeah,
power requirements are, because otherwise you're just guessing and it's can be a real pain in the butt.
yeah.
But
This
these sites
is
will tell you it, and you just go pick one of those or pick one that's up. Like you probably should pick one that's one tier higher just to be safe because you never know what's going to happen. but you don't need any more than that. You don't need to
No,
go crazy, crazy, crazy.
no,
You just
you
don't.
don't. This is an area you definitely can save proper money. You don't need to be getting a 1600 titanium. You don't need that, dude. What are you doing?
That's for a computer, boy. That's not
Boy,
for a gaming computer. That's
dude,
for a computer. That's doing some
think
work.
about that is pulling the full load out of your wall.
Yeah,
The beyond the full load, because they regulate it down to 110. Here in Japan they're so cautious, it's a 100, 1000
yeah,
watts, right?
yeah. They
They're
don't want
so
fires.
cautious. So and it's the same system. It's 1600 max, right? Because that's a safe area. I just don't understand having a system that is drawing max, and if you're gaming for hours every day every day, my god, dude, what are you doing? That just seems
Can you
dangerous
imagine?
to me.
Can you imagine that electric bill? Whew.
Ooh,
No,
dude,
thank you.
full
No,
bore, just
thank you.
sucking the. I mean, I'm running my system very happily. I did
Yeah,
get a gold series, so I got a little bit better quality one. But I'm running 600 watts and I'm good. No problem, dude.
yeah, yeah. Most people would be at right. That's probably right where most people would be, even more than most people would be.
Right.
Um, and it's just, and like I said, if you can, if you have the budget or whatever, or if you just want to, find out what your minimum is, your minimum to require to hit your marks that you're trying to hit, which these sites will tell you this,
Sure.
and then go up one more,
Yeah.
go up one more, just
Yeah.
one
Well,
higher, and that way you're safe. You don't ever have to worry. You're fine.
yeah. In like a year and a half, I'm going to upgrade. I'm going to buy a new the 50 series GPU, right?
Yeah,
Whatever I'm going to upgrade. I'm going to get one. And when I do that, at the same time I'll upgrade my power supply because I didn't upgrade it because it's fine. It's the same old one I've had in there for a long time. But I will upgrade to 1000 watt because I have no choice. I have to. But yeah, no, this is an area you could definitely save money. Don't get crazy. Just minimum bronze. Don't buy Chinese shit. Anyway, um, moving along. Um,
avoid China.
now we've been talking about everything you need, right? So you need your box and a good box. This is important. Don't drop that ball. You need a good motherboard, DDR5. You need whatever CPU works for you. Like I said, the iCore 5s right now, people are making mad fun gaming systems on it, dude. You don't need to
Yep.
spend, you can save money in this area. Your RAM and of course, this is a personal choice, really. I think faster is you're going to enjoy it more, but the RAM really needs to be in cooperation with your motherboard. Should be DDR5. Storage, of course. Power supply. Don't get so crazy about it. But now we come into the big boy because this is
The
where the
Big Daddy,
money is.
literally.
Yes. Now, the best graphic cards for 2023. And we're starting out with an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650. And
Well,
it's like, honestly, why the hell would you buy that when if you could find one, a 1080 Ti?
yeah,
Why?
well, that's even what it looks like. That's what it's saying. Yeah, that's the budget 1080p gaming card. So AMD or Nvidia. So basically, they're just giving you like the cheapest one right there.
Yeah, it is.
That's
It
your
is.
that's what the 1050 used to be, right?
So this is the
The cheap
bottom.
budget card. Yeah, the just getting your
40
foot in the door card.
4070 NVIDIA, the new one. 800 bucks.
Look at that.
Now keep in mind the prices have dropped hundreds of dollars for you
Oh
guys,
yeah,
not for us. Um, don't buy the 40 series Nvidia. Don't do it.
no.
If you like, oh well, I'm not going to be able to afford this or the next series, get a 30 series, man, or go with
Yep.
AMD. I mean, honestly,
Get
um,
the 3070 and be happy. It's a really good card.
it
It's
is.
not too expensive and it'll last. It'll definitely last till the 50s are out, but it'll probably last you till the 70s are out. To be honest,
Right.
we'll see.
And you notice in this list, here is the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090. They're not doing the TI, by the way.
No TIs.
Nope.
Look at that,
$2,000.
$2,000 for a card.
Jesus.
Nah, now listen. If what you're doing requires you to have cutting edge
Like some of
PC.
these
Say you're
artists, yeah,
actually
yeah.
some of these artists, or you're an actual like you make your money gaming or something like that. You actually do like a pro gamer, or you're a you're somebody who's doing a
Blender,
lot of streaming, things
yeah.
like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I can
Oh yeah,
understand paying this kind of money. Like, say you're a big one of these streamers out here who make good money. I can
sure.
understand paying that kind of money for
Oh
something like
sure,
that.
because they want to say
But
I
a
got a
normal person,
4090 and look at me play Cyberpunk. I don't need it,
yeah, a
but I'm
normal
doing it.
person, you don't need that. You don't need to be spending that kind of money. And Nvidia, by the way, fair play to them. They'll even market it. That's how they market it, right? The
Sure.
4090s for like your upper echelon, hardcore, da da da
Yeah.
da. Your 60, your 50, 60, and 70, whatever they're doing this time. That's for most people
Yeah.
who are going to play ball.
Well, dude,
That's what they want.
I got a 6-year-old GPU and I can play Cyberpunk no problem.
Yeah,
Right now, Remnant 2 and some of the games that are coming out with the Unreal Engine 5, it's going to be
a
hard,
little rough,
a little
a little
rough.
rougher. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's about to hit. You're going to get a lot of complaining. What do we call them? These woke SJW gaming critics who actually don't know how to play games. They're going
Yeah.
to be bitching a lot.
The best one was the guy trying to play Doom.
Oh, that guy, Doom
The
guy.
reviewer, he couldn't hit anything.
Yeah,
He just kept missing. I'm like,
he's
what are you
the
doing?
same Cuphead guy. Yeah, same guy did Cuphead. He shouldn't be doing his job. But you know, if you got the money, go ahead. Sure.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, though, I would wait for the 50 series if you're planning on spending serious money. Otherwise, if you can find a 30 series for NVIDIA and some of the AMD cards are pretty good. They work really, especially if you're just gaming. If you don't care about
Yep.
other stuff, go AMD. It's cheaper, and they do really good with gaming. But this is a big potential cost for you. See these budget things here? No, don't no. Stop it. Don't even look at it. What am I showing it to you? At least get in the 6,000 AMD or in the 30 series with NVIDIA.
Yep.
If you get a, if you and of course there's a great secondhand market as well. Because here's the thing: these products, excuse me, they don't they don't have the wear and tear you think they do, unless you're burning them out. But then,
That's
you're
true.
going to know that because you smell it. Your computer will be literally on fire. So,
Yes, you'll know.
you'll
You'll
know.
know very
Yeah.
quickly.
Anyway,
Yep.
that's what I got.
That's what he
And the only hard part is this, which I was showing you guys earlier. You take your little GPU and you put it in there, and then on top of it, the silver ring in the middle, you need to put some kind of, especially with these higher end CPUs, you need to put some kind of cooling. Now, it used to be they would Intel in the little box, they'd send you this cheap ass little cooler, and it'd do the job,
Yep.
right? But they ain't the fact anymore. Matter of fact, we're kind of getting beyond the point of being able to use fans at all, and you got to go liquid cool. And I know it's scary. I understand firsthand because I was like, why am I putting water in my computer? But the results are very simple. I was running an 8th generation i7 and running 60, occasionally 70 to 70-degree pops. No big deal. As long as you're under 100 degrees, you're okay. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to run my computer over 90 for a very long time, but technically, if you're under 100, technically you're okay. Depending on the system, some of the AMDs run hot anyway, and they're meant to, right? But nevertheless, um, you know, it's right there, dude. I mean, because I was using just one of the little cheapy Intel fans. I changed over to the liquid thing, dude. I haven't seen what 56 degrees, and that was on Cinebench.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, geez, so it does work. It's scary, but it works, and it's a closed system. So you know, I don't know. I don't. We'll see. We'll see. If I don't show up, and I disappear from the universe, you know what happened.
They also have they have alcohol cooled ones too now.
They
So
do.
they have where you can put a alcohol base in there to keep it cool,
Yeah,
because alcohol is non-conductive, so it doesn't hurt the electronics. But
sure.
water, unfortunately, it's really not even the water. It's the salt. It's the alkaline in the water is very conductive and very
Well,
much a
yeah.
problem.
And you probably want to use mineral water because you
Yep.
could have some kind of bacterial in there and you get growth, or you're dealing with water and heat. Keep that in mind. But there are alternatives. But when you connect your cooler, whether it be a fan or a liquid cool, all you're doing is taking the metal face of the CPU and the metal face of the cooling system, and you're binding them together. And there is a
Yep.
thermal paste that does this. It's a paste that can take high temperatures, and you can go online and find little videos of what's the best way. And everyone has their own. Do a pea size one here. Do an X. There's all kind of different ways to do it. But all you're trying to do is to make sure that your CPU is completely covered by the paste, and it is matching to your heating surface nice and beautifully, and everything's connected. In some situations, like with this one right here, it is suggested that you switch over to some of the aftermarket holder downers for the CPUs. I'm not doing anything that would require such desperation, but you can. But then again, keep in mind this is a hobby. It's not just
Yep.
for whatever kind of software we're running. It's not. It's a hobby, and people like to bling bling their hobby. It's just part of the fun of it, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's just what we do, and there's nothing wrong with it. Have fun,
Yeah.
enjoy yourself.
That's one of the things you'll see online. A lot of these people, a lot of these weirdos, who will tell you stuff that is just nonsensical. Like they'll crap all over
Oh,
people's
sure.
hobbies and this and that. And I'm like, guys, listen, I understand where a lot of those guys are coming from. It's because various reasons, but at the end of the day, everybody has hobbies. It doesn't matter. Nobody is out here working 24/7. Nobody's out here, never relaxing. Da 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 da. Da.
No,
You can't do that forever.
no.
You can do it for a while.
You
You
can
can,
do it for
work
about
on
3 years. I
yeah,
know.
and then you're just done. Like you can't do it anymore. You'll want to kill yourself. Uh, you have to rest. You must rest and find recreation. And rest doesn't mean you do nothing, but you must do things that aren't imperative, things that you just enjoy.
Deload the
And
brain.
yeah, it's literally like a frag dump for a computer, right? Like how you're supposed to defrag your computer, it's the same thing. You're
Right.
just unloading the brain. You're getting all that stuff out of there. You're relaxing, letting it calm down, making not everything needs to be a life or death thought process or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, one of the things that recreation is good for, probably the main thing, besides rest, obviously, but the reason why that's so important is it brings clarity. A lot of times when I'm doing for me, one of the things I do to rest is I do walking meditation. So I go on long walks,
Hmm.
and it has helped me so much with anxiety, with all sorts of stuff. Because when I'm out there doing it, one of the things you try to do is you try to stay focused on whatever. So when I do it, I try to stay focused on the next step, just the next step, over and over and over again. Don't let too many things break my focus. But what happens is when you're getting that flow state with whatever your hobby is, that's when you start to get inspired and your creative juices and your problem solving comes in. So, say you're having a problem, more often than not, in my experience anyway, when I'm doing something where I'm just trying to relax, that's when I solve that problem. My
Oh
my
yeah.
subconscious, my conscious figures it out,
Yep.
and then I'm kind of like, oh crap, like if it's something I need to write down or whatever. But yeah, I think that's what it's for. I think our bodies are designed to work very very hard for a long stretch, go all out. We're marathon people, marathon species, but then we got to slow down. We
Yep.
got to get that rest in there and let us, recatch our juices, basically refill
Mhm.
our juices up. and it recharges the batteries. And a lot of times I've noticed this. This is just personal experience. When I have any issue, whatever it is, it could be personal, professional, whatever, or I need to come up with some idea, when I let it go and go do something that is just to chill out, basically, that's when I solve that problem. Because your mind doesn't stop working on it. You might not be in your front of your brain thinking about it, but in the back of your brain, it's still going, right? It's still processing and doing the calculations to try and figure out this problem. And if you just let it and get out of its way and stop worrying and stop stressing and stop putting all this extra effort on top of yourself, trying to force the issue, more often than not, I think you figure things out on your own by just letting it go.
Oh yeah.
That's just my experience anyway.
No,
Just
it's
let
definitely
something
true.
go for a while, the answer comes to you. One of the things that's true, every gamer knows this. We'll be fighting a boss, and this son of a bitch keeps kicking our ass. And we're like, all right, I'm done. And you stop. You come back in an hour, you come back the next day, and you just stomp him out.
Yep.
You're like, what?
Yep.
And it's because
Yeah.
your brain figured it out for you while you weren't playing,
That's
and then
right.
you got there and your
Oh
brain
yeah.
you just did it. You're
Your
like, oh,
brain is
what?
so much smarter than you are. No, it's
It
true.
is.
It is way smarter than you are. Just let the brain do its job. But
Just relax.
no, that's true. That's true. What I do is every now and then I'll take like a 3 day where I won't eat anything. No sex for
Mhm.
3 days either. That's
Oh
rough.
no,
Yeah.
no,
Just
that's not
water.
good.
Um, yeah, it's nice. It's purifying.
Recharges it.
It does.
There is a lot of data that fasting is beneficial.
It is,
Very
yeah.
beneficial. It resets the mind. It helps you. That what you're doing right there, that yawning, it helps with that. Your body
Cleans the
wants to
blood.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, your body like wants to do it. It's hard. It's not easy because that ghrelin, that chemical that your stomach releases, it says, "Hey, feed me. Hey, we're not. Hey, well, there's nothing in here." Is a bastard, man, and it literally can hurt because it wants to be fed.
Yeah,
But
you
if you
get
can,
used to it though.
yeah,
Like
exactly. Once
I've been
you,
doing it
you
for a
get
very
past,
long time. I do it like once a season.
yeah,
It becomes very easy actually.
there's a lot of benefits to it. That to me is very interesting that the so-called religious people, the religions, pretty much every one of them have that as a tradition, as a practice,
Sure.
fasting.
Hmm.
Fasting meditation, fasting prayer, it's the same thing. I don't tell the Christians that, they get real mad, but it's the same thing. Um, it's the same thing chemically in your brain anyway, and it really does reset the brain. I think one of the reasons why there's so much anxiety now, like people have crippling anxiety. One of my cousins, she can't do anything. It's bad. Her anxiety she's just full of fear.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons that's such a problem nowadays is that people don't do that anymore. People don't regain control over their body. That's one thing fasting does.
Hmm.
Because otherwise you just do whatever your body tells you. You're not actually even living. You're hungry so you eat, right? You're thirsty so you drink. That that you're not in control. Your base urges are in control. You're
Right.
just fulfilling them. Whereas fasting and maybe even going on a drink fast, some people do that too, where they don't drink for a day or so. Um, those sorts of things, you're reasserting your willpower over even yourself. Because if you don't, your body will just, I mean, you can run on autopilot.
That's
There's
true.
no real reason you can't. Your
You
body
can.
could do it.
There's another ancient secret that all the secret societies teach, and
Mhm.
they teach it because it works. This is a male thing; it has nothing to do with women. It doesn't apply to them. But as
Yep.
a man, if you are having, regular congress, right? Having sex
Mhm.
regularly. Um, Try your best to go as long as you can without
Yep.
finishing.
Yep.
I know that sounds horrible, but Chester blue balls, dude. I'm telling you,
It's
the
good for
amount
you.
of energy it gives you back is kind of crazy. You ever heard about how the sports guys won't have sex before the big fight or the big game?
Yep.
It's real.
Yep.
Now, the sexual buildup in you though is also beneficial. right? Now the Indians, of course, go to get into the Kundalini and all the chakra and all that kind of stuff. And who knows? Maybe
Mhm.
they know they have something there. I don't know, but it actually does work scientifically. So
Yep.
you don't have to do it all the time, but you should really try. Go for a span of time and enjoy as you normally would, but don't finish.
Yep.
Don't let yourself finish.
Control it.
Yeah, at
It's
all.
it's one of the things that
Try it.
humanity
It's interesting.
that makes us you special in the animal kingdom is we actually this is what basically what agency is. We can control ourselves. Right? Whereas an animal and stuff, they're not going to starve themselves to death, most likely, right? Unless there's something actually physically wrong with it. A person could technically do it if they wanted to. Like if you had the willpower to not eat, you could go
No,
long enough till you pass out and you die.
we have a certain
Uh,
amount of our cells is beyond the DNA's instinctive rule.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's one of the things. That's why these things I think are so important, and why pretty much every great philosophy, every major religion has taught some form of fasting, of abstinence,
Yeah.
of
Well, not
of self
abstinence.
control. Well,
Actual
I'm saying
sex,
like
but
not
but
just
not
abstinence from sex,
not
but abstinence in
ejaculation.
general.
Yeah.
Not just from sex, but just in general. Like, don't drink during this time.
Oh yeah, sure.
Don't eat during this
Yeah.
time. But sexually too, you can also apply it to that. But I'm just saying, a lot of them have taught this for a reason, and it's because it's about teaching you. They couch it in reverence to God and everything, but in reality, what it's teaching you is self control. If you can do that, you can
Yeah.
control your basic urges at a level that most people simply
Yeah.
cannot do it.
It could be
Trust
simply
me,
psychological.
Chester, you and I have both lost a lot of weight in our lives, right? We both sat down and said, all right, that's enough. It's time to lose some weight. And
Yep.
we did it. That's something most people can't do. They can do it for a couple months. They can do it for maybe 5 months. Maybe, they'll get 20, 30, 40 pounds off and then
Well,
they just lose right
stop
back up.
being a pussy.
Yeah, it's self control.
Yeah.
And
Por
that
ahí, por
is
ahí.
something you can learn.
By
You
him
can
with
teach
A.
yourself by just doing small little things that you don't really want to do. Like if you do a 24-hour fast, do it once a month for like 4 months,
Yeah.
and I
No,
bet you your self
seriously.
control gets
Yeah.
better.
It
It just
is.
gets better.
It could be psychosomatic. But then again,
Yep.
we know people have gone in the hospital with, end of your life cancer and walk out with no cancer. And it's
Yep.
psychosomatic. There's something going on. The power of the mind is incredible. And that wasn't quite the level of urbanite I expect from you, Grimlock. Okay? I am what I eat is not correct. You should have said I am what I ate.
I like it. I like it because it's true.
It is true.
It's true.
I need to go though. I got a lot of work to
Yeah,
do today.
yeah. It sounds like you need to go to bed, bro. You keep yawning over there. You all
I
right? You're
I
a
haven't
sleepy
been I
boy.
haven't been asleep in over a day. And I
Oh,
won't
oh.
until maybe 10 o'clock tonight. So I got 10 hours of work to go.
Oh
Better get
shit.
better get you some caffeine in you.
I have
Caffeine
I have
is a super drug,
I
man.
don't know 10 cups so far.
That's a super drug. That
Damn.
caffeine.
Yeah.
That'll get you going.
But
Wire you.
yeah, I got hours ahead of me, so I got to get to it. Anyway, I will talk to you guys in 2 days. I'm going to start a new campaign. For anyone who's interested in that, of course, we'll do drawn recorded this week. We'll back next week, and we'll mix it up. I'll try to put some more interesting things in, instead of just always talking about the stupidity of Hollywood. Boy, that girl that's doing Snow White, the one that did the
Oh,
West Side Story girl, she can't shut
that's a
her
She's
damn
problem.
also
mouth,
kind of
dude.
stupid.
She can't. She's a problem.
She again.
It. Oof.
It,
Oof
it's
is what
girl.
it is.
It's girls. It's young people like her that has helped me thoroughly understand why when I was younger, older people would just look their nose down on young people and dismiss what they
Just
say.
roll their eyes at him like, oh
She,
boy.
she, young
Yeah,
as
but
fuck. No, doesn't know shit from shampoo, and she speaks her nothingness with
Yep.
such brazen confidence.
Conviction.
yeah.
Conviction.
But it's like,
Yeah.
no, you don't know nothing. Sit down. We know that a lot of your talking points are coming from up high, but still, shut the fuck up. Nobody cares.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree.
it's true. All right,
I
guys.
agree.
Well, I'll check you out later. Thundero, take us out of here, man.
We're going to do one that's not even on my list, but since we're talking about recreation, it's one of my favorite quotes. I can't remember who said it, but it was a industrialist in the middle of last century or the 1800s. And he said, "Those who will not take time for recreation will make time for illness."
That's true.
Relax.
Namaste. Very good point. Later, everybody.